Maybe he has some. That's insane. It is. That's it. It's just incredible that people keep like making space bacon.
Yeah. It's just kind of dealing with this guy. Hello.
Oh yeah. Yes. No.
Did you see that for the Belton case? They're anticipating on receiving 15 to 20 daily deliveries. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I wonder who it is.
Yeah, it used to be a piece of original. We should ask.
Yeah, I'm
They
curious.
may not tell us.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna, have you started?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Welcome to the December meeting of Community Board 7's Transportation Committee. I'm Ken Coughlin, co-chair. This is Sophia Valla, co-chair. First of all, before I was hoping we have a new member of the committee, Howard Wolfson, but I don't think he's here yet. So I was going to have him introduce himself and have us introduce ourselves to him, but he's not here, so we'll wait for that. But the first order of business is Sophia and I are realizing how much work goes into being a co-chair, and I just wanted to thank Elizabeth and Jamie for all your hard work and dedication over the last, what was it, 2 years, 3 years?
Less than a year for both of us.
Less than a year, okay. But anyway, I'm sure it felt like longer.
Yeah.
But
Having been chair of the board, I really, you guys are going to do a great job.
Thanks. Well, but we appreciate it. And I just wanted to remind everybody, I have to let people in here.
Sure. Don't have to.
I don't have to, but it would be polite.
Have you been ready before?
I have.
Oh, I thought someone else was.
Yeah, no, it's right. It's very easy. Let's see. So our first order of business is to approve the agenda. I hear a motion to approve.
So,
Second. All in favor?
I
I think the agenda is approved. The first, and I just want to remind everybody about the joint meeting with BCI tomorrow night, where they're going to discuss the street festivals. This is usually pretty uncontroversial.
Correct.
And you don't have to show up because we just need a quorum of one committee. And it would be BCI, but I'm going to be there. Yeah.
I can just say, yeah, for all the years we've done them there, it's very perfunctory and we've almost never had any controversy. The only thing that we talked about last year was changing the direction of open streets on Columbus Avenue because 2 southbound lanes were closed and it turned out it worked at it. Usually bundle them.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So the first item on the
It's
Yeah.
okay. If someone wasn't muted, that's fine.
Trader Joe's, part 2. And is Nicholas here? And well, we have a presentation first.
I have the presentation that we reviewed previously at prior meetings. Would you like me to run through that real quick?
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Yeah, I think you tweaked it a little bit, didn't you?
I would just need the ability to share my screen.
If you could just raise your hand and I can promote you.
Okay.
Okay, I just promoted you.
Join as panelist.
Yeah.
And you have to allow them to share screen.
Hopefully you can do that as a
Yeah.
panelist.
That should be coming up now.
Great.
That's,
All right, thank you very much, everyone, for having me. My name is Nicholas Alexiotis. I'm a licensed professional engineer in New York State at Bowler Engineering. We're representing Trader Joe's in our petition to DOT to obtain a loading zone in front of their business on Columbus Avenue. Just running through the presentation quickly. We're looking for a commercial loading zone for truck loading, where there doesn't one exist currently today. There was just a brief history of the local law. DOT has a large push currently in order to implement more loading zones throughout the city. Obviously, they've been known to reduce congestion, provide more safe operations for vehicles loading and unloading. There's a diagram here that just shows briefly the large discrepancy across the upper west to upper east sides of why the DOT has classified this area as a priority zone for obtaining further loading zones. As you can see in the vicinity of the project, there's only about one, which is pretty remote and far away from the site. So we're looking for dedicated loading zone signage that would be installed by DOT in front of the business.
truck loading zone.
Truck would be called the truck loading zone. On the right-hand side is the example of the signage that would be installed. That would be directly in front of the business. The previous request was for a 70-foot loading zone. We prepared some additional exhibits from our last discussions to address some of the concerns that were brought forth by the community. The signage that's currently in place is represented on the diagram on the left. 1 hour commercial parking, which is open to any available commercial vehicle that has commercial license plates. So not necessarily for truck loading, it could be your neighborhood plumber, an electrician that frequently parks there for long periods throughout the day, preventing a large vehicle to unload for Trader Joe's. With that on the screen is kind of a representative example of the types of situations that have been known to transpire at the site, where the vehicle is forced to park in the second lane on Columbus Avenue, while there are occupied parked vehicles in the parking lane on Columbus Avenue. Thus, the pallets tend to have to become queued at the rear end of the truck and partially on the sidewalk to facilitate the loading operations needed for the business. These are just some representative photos of the site. Garbage operation. That's just an example of one of the types of operations we were just describing, where the vehicle is parked in the second lane, using the parking lane for staging of the pallets, because there may have been vehicles or obstructions beyond these pallets. Just further parking obstructions. Again, van, commercial vehicle, and passenger vehicle just in front of that. And then these are the options, but I'll present these in larger size. So represented on the screen is what we call option A, which is the previous proposal that we had come to the prior transportation board meeting to discuss. It was a 70-foot loading zone right in front of the store, basically from the crosswalk to the second tree pit on the western side of Columbus Avenue. That fits the largest vehicle that Trader Joe's would encounter to unload the pallets, but as you can see, there's limited space behind the vehicle, and it is a big constraint. This was the original request, and there's this we'll call option A, and then option B, based on discussions with the community, it enlarges the loading zone to be 100 feet long, where a commercial vehicle semi-truck can clearly park within, and has plenty of space to unload the pallets from the rear of the vehicle and stage them in the parking lane of the street. So this was our, we'll call it option B as a secondary example. Highlighted on the screen is an existing fire hydrant. So the loading zone would basically go from the crosswalk to the fire hydrant. So we've come up with these two options as our,
How many feet is that option?
this is 100 foot loading zone.
It's 100.
Yes. So these are the two proposed options that would be presented.
That's it?
Yep.
Okay,
Give it short this time.
yeah. Committee questions first?
Yeah. What are the proposed hours of this operation?
The loading zone is typically utilized at these hours here. So they receive deliveries from 4 AM through 8 PM at night that are staggered throughout the day. And due to the high volume of the site, they typically utilize at least 3 out of the 4 consistently.
At previous meetings on this topic, there have been many people saying the 4 AM causes a lot of noise and wakes neighbors up. Any way to mitigate that?
We can discuss with our clients, see if there's a way to adjust those hours. I don't believe there are any restrictions in the city in terms of loading operations, so we can certainly request that, but I don't believe that there are restricted loading times throughout of which a loading vehicle could unload. But we can request that from our client.
How long is a typical loading activity last?
I believe it depends on the size of the vehicle that is there and what types of product it has within it. So it's very difficult to give it a time, set duration. I don't believe it's longer than 30 minutes, 30 to 45 minutes.
So according to this, after the 6 AM loading period, there's not another one until 5 PM.
That's correct.
So what happens at this proposed loading zone during all that time?
It's an open loading zone for other businesses within the community to utilize as needed as a loading zone.
Is that clear on the sign, or is that just gonna say truck loading only?
It would say truck loading only, without an hour stipulation. If you request that we add an hour stipulation and review that, and we can request
Well,
confirmation from
if it
DOT.
just says truck loading only during that extended period of time, so let's say 6:30 in the morning till 5 o'clock at night, any other commercial or any activity, because it doesn't, it's, first of all, it says truck load. So no cars, theoretically, if they're obeying the traffic sign, could park there. Or,
That's correct. Yes.
and if a small van came to drop off somebody or a delivery vehicle, taxi, or anything else, and if they saw the sign and wanted to pay, they couldn't park there.
Boy,
That's
this-
correct.
This translation on the screen is so not what people are saying. It's unbelievable. Where is that coming from? Is that AI?
I don't know, they don't want
It's
to
a
do
Zoom,
it.
it's turned on, it's closed caption.
What?
So my point being is obviously you're taking up a lot of parking spaces, transit, et cetera, for the better part of the entire day when you don't need it. So what do you suggest you could do or DOT could do as far as signage to at least make that 100 feet, which is a lot, available when you're not using it?
So I've just zoomed in on the signage that's there currently. So DOT typically reserves a large block throughout the middle of the day for commercial vehicles. It would generally be a similar time that would become large and large to accommodate the loading operations of the business. So say something like, I can't stipulate those times at
That sign is any commercial,
the moment. This is any commercial vehicle. Yes,
which you've indicated is part of your problem.
yes,
So, okay, assuming your problem is solved from 6:30 in the morning till 5 p.m., you're not there.
Well, Jay, he said that any truck can use it. And
That's not what it says, that's my point.
it doesn't say only for Trader Joe's, it says any truck. And so Amazon could use
I
it.
actually have the definition that it's a newly created sign by DOT for specifically this particular scenario. Okay. The definition of what they put in their text, in their code. So it's a truck loading zone is a portion of curb space which no vehicle except a commercial vehicle may stand or park for the purpose of making pickups or service calls or loading or unloading goods. So it still is very generic, and technically, if one of those commercial vans was actively loading or unloading, they could utilize the space by this definition. So it's not to say that it's strictly for, large vehicles based on
Would you
this
agree
definition.
though that the sign should be more informative about what can happen during those periods?
At the moment, it's a DOT, it's a standard, we can only choose from the standard signage which exists, which the only signage DOT has is commercial metered parking, which, as we talked about, is for, any electrician, plumber, and commercial vehicle. Now they've created this sign, which is neighborhood loading zones. It's that blue symbol there, which is more for your Amazon and FedEx type vehicles. And then there's the loading zones, which are for your, larger pickups and deliveries.
As somebody who lives around the corner from there, I can attest that there's a big need. There's an Amazon truck that typically loads usually between 94th and 93rd. They could use it. I crossed the street one day, and there was the Trader Joe's truck was double parked, and then there was a postal service truck on the eastern lane next to the parked cars, and so Columbus Avenue was down to one lane, and traffic was backed up across the intersection at 93rd Street. So that postal service truck could have been there.
So my concern is that while this is an application on behalf of Trader Joe's, it's basically just establishing 100-foot loading zone, period. And which doesn't allow for any private vehicles or taxis or anything else, has to be in truck.
But DOT, according to local law 168, is mandated to start putting in as many loading zones as they can.
How big
around
is
the
it?
city. What?
How big is a typical loading?
Anywhere from 60 to 75 feet to fit in a semi-trailer.
But this is 100 feet that you're asking.
100 feet is, yes, due to concerns from the community to extend it so that there's room for the pallets to be able to stage.
Any other questions?
So you're saying to alleviate the concerns of the community, you're asking for a larger zone.
That's correct.
Okay, it's a little confusing to me. I understand the logic, but I'm surprised that you asked for more.
The first.
I do see the paradox though, I understand.
Yeah.
So, so what happens if another truck, as you say, other trucks can utilize, if another truck is there and the Trader Joe's truck pulls up, Trader Joe's double parks?
It depends on the situation and the status of the loading of the prior vehicle. A lot of times the drivers are actively in the operation, so they'll know how long until that next vehicle is going to be completed. So typically there would be verbal discussion to arrange usage of the loading zone. Typically wouldn't have a large truck vehicle parked there and just disappear. There would actively be some sort of a loading operation.
Anybody else?
Are we looking for a resolution?
Well, I think we need to hear community. Is that Arena there? Hi.
Come so we can.
Why don't you come to the table?
Thank you. So just to identify myself, my name is Irena Stennett, and I live at 100 West 93rd, which is the residential building or the condominium above Trader Joe's. And before I share some observations over the years, and I want to preface my remarks by saying that I think it's really great that Trader Joe's is in the community. I use it often. But you referred to community a couple of times. Can you tell me who you mean by community? That requested a larger look. You said the community asked for a larger look. Who are you referring to?
At the previous transportation board meeting, there was discussion about the pallets which tend to accumulate on the sidewalk during a loading operation. So our solution to minimizing the amount of pallets that may be placed on the sidewalk is to provide a larger space behind the truck so that those can be staged on the parking lane.
I see.
So it was a prior concern from previous meeting like this one,
I see.
where those concerns were brought up.
So I want to make a few observations. Firstly, Trader Joe's gets deliveries all day. That's been my observation. There are very
But then
few,
it says Trader Joe's.
there are very few other delivery trucks that park in this area. Trader Joe's is an enormous success at this location, and they receive deliveries all day long. So I'm disputing the idea that their deliveries end at 6 a.m. because that's just not the case. Secondly, I think I can say for most of the people that I've spoken to in the building, we understand the need for a loading zone here, without question. I think the issue for us is that Trader Joe's has by default, because of the amount of merchandise that they receive daily, has turned that street, 93rd mid-block Columbus Avenue, into an extension of their warehouse, because their warehouse can no longer accommodate all the merchandise that comes in hourly. It just keeps coming. So what has happened is their machinery sits out on the sidewalk and particularly in the street overnight. Merchandise is outside all day long, and the pallets are outside also. So it's not just the pallets, it's boxes and boxes and boxes. Now, we understand that it takes a while to get it in the warehouse, in that small space, and then on the shelves. So I think what I would like the committee to consider is a time frame for that, so that we don't turn over the sidewalk, the entire sidewalk, to Trader Joe's. It's just not fair. I mean, I go around. We have Whole Foods up the street. We have Trader Joe's on 70. I've never seen anything like this before, where supermarket has seconded all this space outside of on a sidewalk, and it goes on all day. And at night, you can come out of the building, 12 a.m. in the morning, and there is their equipment sitting out on the street. And the question is, why? No other supermarket or large department store in the Upper West Side stores their equipment outside on the street. So I'm asking the community board, has to be 75 or 100, fine. But we have to get the merchandise and the equipment and the pallets off the sidewalk, and particularly off the street when Trader Joe's closes at 9 p.m. That would be my request. Thank you.
Nicholas, is that is that something
The
that Trader
store
Joe's?
definitely does receive deliveries throughout the day, as we indicated with the staggered delivery schedule. So I'm not aware of the times that were just stated, but there are staggered deliveries throughout the day. Trader Joe's is not requesting usage of the sidewalk through this petition. We're just requesting the installation of that signage. And it's my understanding if there's any issues between a business and the community, that there may be a separate board that handles those types of matters, that perhaps these types of issues could be brought up at.
Yeah, you're referring to the BCI committee.
Yes.
So, yeah, beyond the loading zone, maybe these
Yeah,
issues
these
could
could
be
more
brought up.
operational questions and concerns that Unfortunately, I'm not able to speak to or address all of those in their entirety. But I definitely,
Do you think Trader Joe's could commit to at least not leaving stuff on the sidewalk overnight? Like from,
yes, I believe that's definitely something.
so if we put that in our resolution requesting that would be something they could comply with.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yes, Doug?
So I voted for this the first time, and I do also agree with Irene. I shop at Trader Joe's, and I think you really add a lot to the community. I'm glad that you're there. What I didn't hear, and I'm glad that we just talked about it, because I was about to just say that one of the things that we heard at community board, full board meeting, why we went back to committee, was the concept of you being a better neighbor. And I didn't hear that in your presentation. I think it's really important, so I'm really glad that you're stipulating that you would agree. I mentioned this at a previous, maybe some background might be helpful. This building, former Mitchell-Lama Co-op, had the right under the West Side Urban Renewal to bulk up. It was part of the exploration of the Upper West Side, and they were allowed to bulk up. This building was set far, far back, and many of the Mitchell-Lamas were allowed to bulk up. This developer chose to do that, which is why you have Trader Joe's and Just Salad and Party City that's out going out. So one of the issues in the stipulations in bulking up was a restriction to have larger tenants. And I think the requirement was for at least 3 tenants. And I remember at the time when Trader Joe's was contemplating this place, they actually wanted to be a larger Trader Joe's to handle loading. And that was prohibited under the city zoning. So I'm not saying that you could be better neighbors, but I think there's an explanation for why you and this Trader Joe's doesn't have what I would call adequate loading. And I think it's because of the restriction. I think that's what happened. So anyway, I'm glad, I want to hear it on the record that you're going to be a better neighbor, because you can't commandeer the sidewalk. And if there's anything else you'd like to add, on the record as to how you could be a better neighbor, I think it would be very much appreciated.
We definitely heard the community's concerns at the prior meeting where, maintaining a clean and tidy sidewalk, the tree pits. I know there was discussion about, maintaining any garbage or debris that would accumulate in the tree pits to ensure that's cleaned up in a timely manner. I personally relayed that to the Trader Joe's team as a concern of the community. So whatever concerns are brought up in these meetings have been relaying directly to them. So that's been documented with them.
I think it's really had an impact because I go by there a lot. It's a 20-foot wide sidewalk, which is pretty wide. And seems like they've been very careful not to have their pallets obstructing the clear path. It's basically 20 feet. So, yeah, right.
We include in the resolution that the equipment and the pallets cannot remain not just on the sidewalk, but on the street overnight. Like at 9 o'clock, everything should just go into the Trader Joe's. And by the way, Party City has an existing loading dock. Now, we all know they went out. So basically, that whole avenue, that whole street from 93rd to 92nd is going to be in effect a loading dock, a loading zone. Because the Party City, even though they went out, that loading zone is still in effect. So I wonder whether we should ask DOT to, to amend that loading dock near Party City, since they're no longer there. Because now that whole street from Columbus between 92nd and 93rd is in effect a commercial loading dock.
There would be parking in front of the
And the
loading
primary,
zone with this signage. I believe the loading zone you're referring to is the building loading zone that's built into the building. Is that the one that?
no, I'm talking about Party City. When they came in, they applied for a loading zone.
At 92nd.
At 92nd.
They're loading on 92nd.
Yeah,
On 92nd Street.
No,
no,
just
on Columbus, because 92nd Street is a private school.
Southern end of that.
But there's a loading zone, there's a loading sign on that.
This signage is in effect throughout the entire block.
Okay, I just want to make sure that
This is-
this is not in.
This
the
is the
street
sign
sidewalk overnight.
at Columbus Avenue and West 92nd Street. This is the sign that exists at that location.
Commercial vehicles.
Yeah.
Nicholas, could Trader Joe's commit to not, putting pallets on actually in the street overnight?
Overnight,
Yeah.
And you couldn't.
when there's an active loading operation
No.
ongoing.
No, like between eight PM and 4 AM.
9 PM to 4 AM.
Yeah.
Yes, the merchandise should be moved within.
And the forklifts.
I'll have to check, I'll have to check with Trader Joe's and at the full board meeting, am I able to present that information?
Well, yes, but we can definitely put that in the resolution and ask for that.
And it'll be a requirement.
So,
Yeah. We would urge you to do it.
so we doing the resolution tonight, how does it work? I know.
Yeah, we're gonna vote on a resolution,
Okay.
but we just, is there anybody else from the community? There's a hand?
Yes.
Hold on, we have somebody in the room who's gonna talk first.
Hi, can I take a chair?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, community board for, allowing me to speak. Who am I? My name is Ali Hack. I'm from the law firm of Warshaw Burstein LLP. My firm represents the board of managers of Miss Dennis Building, who just spoke, very eloquently about the issue. The board of managers, for those you don't know, is elected basically to kind of govern the affairs of the building. The board asked me to come here tonight, not really as an advocate or as an adversary, just kind of to give information, the background of what's been going on there. So I didn't bring really slides and exhibits for a reason. I just wanted to keep it very informal and just very colloquial. So I'm gonna give kind of a really quick background, and then I'm gonna ask just a couple questions to make for clarification. So this issue of Trader Joe's using the sidewalk as kind of their warehouse for their equipment, for their products, for their pallets and et cetera. Has been a few years now. It's been going on a few years. And the board has tried to work with its landlord, Trader Joe's landlord, commercial unit owner, to stem this kind of behavior with its tenant, Trader Joe's. First, we tried negotiating, we tried talking, the attorneys and the landlord was not interested. It's a client group, basically. It's the landlord, basically. They're the entity that kind of runs that space. So we kind of negotiated with the lawyers and the client group, and they just couldn't really give a reason why they were allowing this to happen. And it was clearly not within the boundaries of the law to have a commercial business use the sidewalk. So then we kind of elevated things to making a board rule that would punish the landlord whenever this kind of behavior happened. We formulated a rule, didn't quell the problem. We then amended the declaration of bylaws to make it a formal article in the declaration, and that still hasn't really stemmed the problem. Trader Joe's has now started using the gutter, as the Senate said, to try to get around the rule. Because basically, so what I'm trying to say is the board has authority over the sidewalk and responsibility over the sidewalk. It's part of the common areas. So what happens on that sidewalk is we're answerable for that, right? Not necessarily the gutter, but the sidewalk. What I'm hearing back now from my clients is that the materials never really left the sidewalk. They just kind of became more into the gutter, but it still remained on the sidewalk. Now it's kind of back and forth between the gutter and the sidewalk. So the problem hasn't really been fixed. And so we now, as part of the lawsuit, we're now trying to bring in Trader Joe's after a couple of years. We didn't want to do this. We didn't want to make it a big thing. But we now have a motion pending to bring Trader Joe's into the litigation, so they have to now answer for their own conduct. So it's the landlord and Trader Joe's that we have brought in to now, address this issue. Because it's, like I said, the board has a fiduciary duty to maintain the common areas of the building, the sidewalk in the common area, and therefore we have to kind of act. So now I understand that, our message has kind of been heard by Trader Joe's, and they brought in Nick and his firm to address the issue. But I didn't really hear how having a loading zone addresses the issue of Trader Joe's using the sidewalk as a storage area. I don't understand, because if there's not enough room inside the store to begin with, how's a loading zone help that? That problem.
So this, you go to this exhibit. So the current option B, providing a 100-foot loading zone, allows for further space in the gutter of the road for those pallets to be staged once they come off the truck. So it would minimize any usage of the sidewalk for staging of those pallets. Pallets are placed there temporarily while they're moved inside the building as the truck is unloading. I know there were stipulations through this lawsuit of times and operations of how long that process can occur, which I know that Trader Joe's is doing their best efforts to comply with as part of that ongoing litigation. And I can only, comment that this proposed loading zone is to help further, create a better solution to address some of those concerns.
So you're saying there is space inside the store that can accommodate these materials?
Yeah.
Is that what you're saying?
They're not being broken down on the street. The material, the pallet is being moved inside the building to be broken down and put onto
Yeah.
shelves.
Eventually, yes, but after sitting there for what we've measured as being like a day, half a day, not necessarily a few seconds or a few minutes. That's what we've measured.
I have not seen any timestamp photos to validate that. We would certainly welcome that and provide that to Trader Joe's to review, but these deliveries are staggered throughout the day. So typically when the vehicle is there, it's unloaded. That process typically takes, a maximum of 30 to 45 minutes, at which those pallets are moved inside.
To be clear, like we never objected, like when you guys are actively moving stuff in, we've never objected. It's when it's left there and like people go inside. That's when we kind of have to act. So if you're saying that that's probably gonna be addressed by this change, then the board's all for it. We're not here to make any problems, right? But the second thing I heard tonight, which kind of gave me a little bit of pause, was the board and Ms. Stennen also, maybe she's being too kind, but you're saying it has to be cleared at night. It's not just at night. You have to clear it the day and night. You can't have stuff there on the sidewalk day or night for an extended period of time. So I would ask as part of the resolution that not just night, but like 24 hours, reasonable, if it's not being actively loaded and unloaded into the store, if it's being left there, that's not allowed. That shouldn't be allowed, in my opinion. Not in the laws, that's the law. And in the bylaws as well. The immigration bylaws also say that.
So what's the reason that you're asking for that? Because I can understand if it was blocking the clear path, but what they typically do, there's a tree pit that's fairly big in front of the Trader Joe's, front of the entrance, and they'll put the pallets next to the tree pit, so it's not obtruding into the clear path any more than the tree pit is. Do you have a problem with that?
Well, it's like asking, do we have a problem with somebody putting their bicycles in the hallways if they're not blocking anybody? Yeah, we have a problem with it because it's our job to maintain the common areas, right? There's liability issues.
Okay,
May I?
yes,
I'm just curious, you said several times that it's the responsibility of the building as a common area of the building.
Correct.
To maintain it, supervise it, and so. Right. Sidewalks are public property. It's the duty of the city to maintain sidewalks, except in instances where statutorily the city has created obligations on behalf of all landlords for literally centuries. For example, if somebody fell on a crack in the sidewalk, the city was responsible. If the sidewalk wasn't cleared after a snowstorm and somebody slipped and fell, it was the responsibility of the city. And the city was sued and spent literally hundreds of millions of dollars a year settling and trying those cases. So legislation was passed, giving those responsibilities to all adjacent property. Other than those, how is it that this particular building somehow has designated this as a common area of the building, which typically refers to hallways and laundry rooms and elevators? Those are typical, or amenities, those are typically common areas. What makes this sidewalk a common area?
Well, for the reason you stated, the city have deputized adjacent landowners maintain their sidewalks. So for example, if it snows by my house and it's not shoveled, that the person who falls can sue me as well as the city.
Yeah, that's a very specific obligation
Yes.
that the city has enacted statutorily for all property owners. And they can require you to fix a crack in the sidewalk, and if you don't do it, they can do it and bill you for it. But other than that, what does that have to do with supervising loading and unloading, et cetera, pedestrian traffic, widening access? That's not the responsibility of the building.
Oh, it is. Yeah, because if there's any liability on the sidewalk, for that conduct, they can sue Trader Joe's, they can sue the landlord, and they can sue the condominium as well. Because we have a duty under what you just discussed to make sure, all of us have a duty, all three, everybody, to make sure the sidewalk is clear.
It's because, Trader Joe's is the lessee
Correct.
of the building, right?
Not
But
the,
any-
not the other
That's,
landlord.
that's just not the
You're the
case.
landlord.
It's not the
Okay.
case legally.
You might be right, but I don't think that, we should be like, the two parties, we should be using this meeting for you, I mean, you guys want to talk and discuss, your case, you can do it, but I'm not sure this is the place to do it. But we appreciate your hearing from you. Yeah, Carrie?
You had mentioned that there was a case that was pending, can you tell his caption, actually parties?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if you could provide us, if you could provide us the complaint also, can you generally describe what the status of the case is, or has it been disposed of, are there settlement or otherwise?
No, it's still pending. Yes, we just recently made a motion to, bring in Trader Joe's as part of, as another defendant in litigation. And so, and we're also undertaking discovery right now. We're exchanging documents, exchanging, testimonies and other details like that for the parties.
Which court is it pending in?
Supreme Court in your account,
When we filed?
2024, 2023.
Okay, what's the formal name of the entity that you represent? I assume the plaintiff?
The Board of Managers of 100 West 93rd Condominium
Okay, and the
Versus-
defendant for that case was?
versus, I forget the corporate name right now, Klein Group is the court of the defendant.
Okay, thank you.
Howard?
Oh, I just want to say, I think the loading zone would be a great thing. Whatever Trader Joe is doing wrong, I think the loading zone would only help the matter, and I think we should vote on the loading zone, because that's the issue before us tonight.
We have people online who want to speak. You want to
Okay,
promote?
Andrew Rosenthal. he's
Andrew
promoting.
Rosenthal?
Yeah, Andy Rosenthal, 78th Street. I love Trader Joe's as a store, but they're a horrible neighbor. I've been assaulted by employees of Trader Joe's at West 72nd Street. I believe I've sent a picture just tonight while we've been on to Ken Coughlin's phone. He can pass it around. What they do on 72nd Street, where there effectively is a loading zone from the bus stop, there's free space on the curb. They don't use it. They still block a lane of traffic, right? So there's supposed to be 2 lanes of traffic on West 72nd Street, which would allow a bicycle and a car to pass. But Trader Joe's every day, all day, parks a truck in the middle lane, not on the curb, even when the curb is entirely empty, which it usually is. They park, and they do this every day. And so giving them a load, I'm in favor of loading zones. Giving them a loading zone may not keep them from parking. They may just put their pallets on that loading zone and continue to block traffic on the street. So I think you need to ask for assurance that that will not be the case if they're given this loading zone.
Yeah.
Okay. We can ask for that assurance. We can also put it in our resolution.
Yeah, I can only state that we've designed the 100-foot version of the loading zone to fully accommodate the vehicle within that zone and provide ample space behind the truck to unload the pallets.
Are you familiar with the situation at West 72nd Street?
Not particularly that location, no, but the situation that you described, we did create an exhibit, and we are aware that there are instances where the Trader Joe's vehicle does park in the manner that you described, and this loading zone is to help rectify that situation.
But we can, assuming this passes, we can monitor it. Andy, yeah,
No, I was just gonna say, I agree with Howard that notwithstanding all of these issues, and I'm gonna call them good neighbor issues around staging. I do believe that if we reject this, we're actually gonna cut our nose to spite our face. Because I think it will mitigate, at the very least, some of the issues. And I do understand logically how the larger loading zone will allow for some staging if the pallet is there. I mean, I don't know legally if you're like supposed to have merchandise on a city street. It's just DOT permits that. It's not a vehicle. But I get what you're saying, and I do think that it'll, look, we do have our BCI committee. If issues continue to come up, I think we can address them at that committee. And again, holding my nose, because I understand all the things that have been said here, I would support, the loading zone as, I know we have option A and B, but I don't think we've
Okay, we
decided.
have a hand up in the back.
So, some thoughts here. It seems like there's a beloved bad neighbor who, a lot of people like, but who's not being a good neighbor. And number one issue seems to be that more space is needed. Not the board's role to say, hey, there's a big building at Party City, you should make use of that. I also think that the alternative, Fresh Direct, is a much worse neighbor, not even a neighbor, but they're really tying up the streets. And as Howard said, ultimately the loading zone is a good thing. As Andy said, it's probably not gonna get used, but it's, Randall just nodded that it's probably still a better alternative. I think to the extent that the committee and the board can try to push Trader Joe's to actually use the loading zone and not still double park, that makes sense. And then otherwise, it's just a matter of what leverage the board has in passing this resolution to try to get Trader Joe's to be a better neighbor. And then the last thing, it seems like there's still a few loose ends. For one, the delivery times that you say are currently in effect are not what Elaine and others are saying are actually happening. I think the board should have correct information. And especially the board seems to be not something you guys should be doing. But also, I agree with Jay that, if the space isn't gonna be used, it should be put to other use. The board's heard from the police that double parking is a major cause of traffic safety issues. So if it's, whether it's taxis dropping people off to go shopping or anyone else using that space, it should be used, like when Trader Joe's isn't using it, it should be put to the best use, so it's not sitting empty.
Okay, we gotta move this along. Is that a hand? Okay.
Yes, sir. My name is Mark Kessler, and I head up the asset management and construction side of the Klein Group, who is quote unquote the defendant that Mr. Hack was talking about. We are the landlord for Trader Joe's. What I can try and clear up is that Trader Joe's is doing everything they can to try and accommodate what's been asked from the board and the building over the last few years. And what has happened is the board is using traders, in my mind, or our mind, as really a linchpin. I'm not gonna try and litigate here. There's various litigation going on with this board and the commercial unit owner due to the fact of them trying to change the condo documents and the declaration where they have no right to do it. And what has happened is they're now causing the use of the sidewalk where traders used to push everything up against the building or everything out by the curb, by the tree line. They get it in as quickly as they can. They have 5,000 square, half the size of that store. They have a basement storage area. They use it all the time. So it's just a matter of fact of getting pallets into the building. And they get them in, down the elevator and into the storage as quickly as they can. They are a bit of a problem because of their own success. The stuff flies out of there. So they have what I understand, so anybody saying that they get deliveries all day long, I'm not sure I can believe that. I have it on good word from Trader Joe's, they get 4 deliveries a day. I can't always say exactly what times that Nick is talking about, but I think that's correct. And they get the stuff into the building as quickly as they can. And what's happening here is the board is trying to use Trader Joe's who's done nothing wrong. All they're doing is a thriving operation. It's great for the community. They're using the litigation that they have going on with us and I'm bringing Trader Joe's into it as something that is just wrong. And I think that if the board can give traders the ability to load and unload on the street. The building made an impossible, they changed the bylaws, which they're not supposed to do. That's one of the lawsuits. And they said you cannot leave anything on the sidewalk for more than 5 minutes. That's impossible. But Trader Joe's is trying to actually work with that. So they get stuff, they leave stuff a little bit onto the street, and then they traverse it over the sidewalk. And I know for a fact that very little is on the sidewalk. And over the years, these lawsuits have been going on for a while. Over the years, we've asked for video. The building has said they have video and pictures. We've virtually seen none of it. And they've never supplied the video or the pictures that they say they have. So I just think that this is a great first step if we can get the ability to have a loading zone there that Trader Joe's can use.
Okay, do we have more people online?
Yeah, anyone online that wants to speak?
Is it public or?
Public.
Public, yeah. We don't have any.
I do. Edgar Brown. Yes, can you hear me?
Yeah, go
Yes,
ahead.
thank you.
Okay, I'm approaching this from a different perspective. Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank Community Board 7 for allowing me to put in my 2 cents. Okay, I've been living in the building at 100 West 93rd since before Trader Joe's came in, so I've seen them grow. And what I did was I looked at their situation. This particular store is located in postal zip code 10025. Now, this Trader Joe's is the busiest in Manhattan based on volume of sales, okay? There are about 95,000 residents in this postal zip code. There are also 13 public schools in this postal zip code, not counting the private schools. Trader Joe's has delivery almost every day. And what's happening is that the receiving team trying to move the supplies and the residents and students trying to negotiate sidewalk space is becoming overwhelming, especially at certain hours. Trader Joe's moving the truck zone, loading zone further down the street, I don't think it's going to solve the problem, okay? Trader Joe's has outgrown, okay, their location. They really need a dedicated receiving dock, okay, in the back, something similar to Whole Foods, okay? Whole Foods has a loading dock on the side of the street. They pull the truck right in and unload it. That's what Trader Joe's really needs. So what you're having right now is, to me, a public safety issue between the receiving team trying to move the supplies into the store and the students and residents going to work and trying to get to school, each trying to sidestep each other. The volume that Trader Joe's does is just too much for that area. It really is.
Okay,
And that's what I wanted to say.
okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I think we should call the
Yeah.
question.
Okay, great.
Can I just ask one quick,
Pardon?
can I just ask? one
Yeah,
quick-
yeah.
Is Colleen still on? I just wondered if she had anything from a DOT perspective to contribute.
Colleen's here.
Colleen, are you on?
Yeah, she's here.
Do you
I'm
have
here.
anything?
I mean, we are generally, always supportive of loading zone and helping, supermarkets such as Trader Joe's and Whole Foods to establish loading zones for their delivery operations. We do see it as vital. It helps with preventing double parking. We don't want, a large truck coming, double parking on a street. So we're more than happy to look at the request over based on what the community board would like us to do. So we can serve some guidance on that part of the request.
Okay,
you,
thank you.
Um,
So I think we should call the question. I would just say maybe this one will not solve the problem, but I think it's gonna help at the very least.
Yep.
So.
Very quickly before we call the questions, because we've heard a lot of
Yeah.
feedback regarding sidewalk as well, and the resolution is drafted only deals with the designated loading zone. Can we, if there's a sense that it's appropriate, could we? I'll move to add a further be it resolved clause that says Community Board 7 Manhattan reminds Trader Joe's that it should not obstruct the sidewalk or store any equipment, merchandise, or other material on the sidewalk overnight. And we call upon the relevant city agencies to ensure that all rules and regulations are enforced.
Yeah, I think Sophia put.
Yeah, I
you
just
some-
put this together now, but yeah, that
Is-
sounds
Is
good.
that on the
Okay.
screen?
Yeah, I'm typing it now.
Okay.
The street overnight,
What?
can we include the street overnight?
It's in
There's
there.
this machine that they put the merchandise on and then it comes up and then they drive it into the,
Yeah.
I don't know what it's called.
Forklift.
Pallet jack.
Excuse me?
Pallet jack. Yeah,
Can
it's
that
referred
not
to.
be on the street overnight?
Yeah, that's in the resolution.
Oh, okay, thank
Yeah,
you.
it's like storage, so I kind of figured that would be
Oh,
part of
okay,
it.
thank you.
Yeah. Okay, on the relevant agencies to enforce the accessibility.
So a separate one also.
Okay.
Focused not just on the designated loading zone, but on the
Mhm.
sidewalk. Get further resolved, we remind Trader Joe's that it should not obstruct the sidewalk
Okay,
or store any equipment, merchandise, or other material on the sidewalk overnight. And we call upon the relevant city agencies to ensure that.
sorry, can you,
Sorry.
maybe do you want to email it to me?
Sure.
Or text it to me? Perfect.
Tuesday, not Monday.
So I got here
Yeah,
late, but just, I mean, if we're tasked, we're reminding them to comply with the law, why do we put that in resolutions? Do we, or put that in other resolutions as a reminder to comply with it?
Yeah,
You can
that's
put that in
true,
everything.
yeah.
It seems,
well, like BCI says, keep the noise down when we give you the liquor license.
We are moving it around.
Well, and this isn't a reminder to follow, this is a specific, because part of what we were hearing is agreement from, we have no ability to say, resolve, they shouldn't do this. It's simply a reminder that they shouldn't obstruct the sidewalk, and we're calling, what we can do is we can call on city agencies to enforce the regulations. So this is acknowledging that they should,
Why can't it be conditional approval?
I don't know what the triggering condition would be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more just keep an eye.
Put
to
it
ensure
Having
that
it
it's
in there
there.
is a good thing.
Right.
Okay, call
Okay,
the
call the
question.
question.
Yeah.
Are we approving option A or B or both?
B,
B.
B.
Yeah,
so
it's
100
the
foot
100 feet in
100
there, yeah.
Still says 4 AM.
I don't think you can get around it.
So what should it say?
Well, that's their first delivery. It's
Okay.
4 a.m.
That's the first
So
thing.
3:59 AM,
No,
No, keep it
we're
at
saying
4.
it's too early.
4, okay.
I don't think there's anything.
No,
you
that's
can
the
do
first
about
one of
it.
the day.
The problem is
So-
the beep, 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 beep at 4 AM.
Mhm.
And I'm on the 30th
Just
floor
don't do it.
and I can hear it. No, it's a cautionary signal,
Yes.
but like.
When
at
they're
4
backing
a.m.
up, it's a
At 4
federal
a.m.,
rule.
it's the only thing you hear.
Last time I looked, we can't.
OSHA?
change it.
Do you, okay, so is there a second?
Yes, second.
Okay, all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All opposed.
Jamie, yeah. Jamie's on.
No.
So is Jamie on?
She's not, she said she was on the call, so she was asking if she could be seen.
I don't
So maybe
see
she hasn't
her.
been voted.
She voting?
Yeah,
I think
she
so.
didn't
She's been
raise.
on the call since.
She's-
6:30.
Okay, here she is.
She has a waiver?
Yeah,
Okay.
Jamie has a waiver.
Okay.
Jamie Floyd has a
There you
waiver.
go.
I should have said that.
Supposed to give
Jamie,
the
are
reason.
you voting?
Supposed to give the reason for the way.
Travel. Travel,
Unanticipated travel.
sorry. Jamie? So, okay, nobody opposed, abstain. One abstain. And nobody for cause. Okay, so this will go to our full board in January in 2026. Hopefully we won't have a return to committee motion. But thank you very much. This has been a very enlightening and I think thorough discussion.
Thank you very much, everyone, for your participation.
Thanks.
Commentary.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, yeah, okay, we have,
For final vote.
we have Danielle Zuckerman online, if you just want to introduce yourself, sorry about the delay.
Danielle Zuckerman is
Yeah.
the acting Manhattan Borough Commissioner for DOT.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see you, and officially not acting as of last week.
All right.
I just wanted to stop by and say hello. I recognize a lot of your names, and I have met some of you before already. And it's always nice to hear the sort of thorough and painstaking discussions you all have, and all the work that goes into all the resolutions that you send us. I don't have anything in particular to share. I just wanted to introduce myself. And I know you work closely with Colleen, but you know, I'm available for folks' concerns, and I'm looking forward to working together.
Thank you, Danielle.
We really appreciate your coming to our meeting,
Mhm.
and we look forward to working with you.
Okay, great, thank you. So the next item is Belnord Retail asking to relocate the City Bike Station. I think we have someone online with a presentation for that. Tabot, you're a panelist, so you're able to speak and share a presentation if you have one.
Yes, thank you. I'll just, good evening, everyone. I would try to navigate my way to the presentation screen in a moment. Okay, let's see. All right, I'll share that. Okay, and just bear with me. Let me bring up my presentation.
You can see it. Thank you.
Okay.
Oh.
Oh, it's actually on this.
There it is.
Yeah, we see. Thank you.
To you, my name is Tabot Aneme, and I work for TY Lane Engineering. I'm here representing Belnord Retail LLC, and I'm here to just do a presentation for a request to relocate the existing bike dock, city bike dock located on Amsterdam Street located on West 87th Street west of Amsterdam on the south side, in order to apply for a truck loading zone for for that area. So I'll just give you an overview of what the purpose of my discussion is, and then we'll take a look at the truck loading operations, existing conditions, and some key issues on why we think why we are requesting for a relocation of this city bike dock, and then our proposed conditions, and then next steps. Again, just to give you a sense of the area, again, I think I've mentioned why I'm here, so I'll not reiterate that. So the picture right here shows the address is actually 2372 Broadway, but the loading area is on Amsterdam. If you want to think of it, you know, it will be on the southwest corner of Amsterdam and west.
You cut out. Maybe it's.
You're fading.
Can you hear me clearly?
Yeah, now we can. Thank you.
Okay, so what is shown in yellow is where the existing loading bay is for this building, and then the blue shows where the existing bike station is. Square feet is on the ground on the lower floor, but you enter on the ground floor. I think you use an elevator to access the site. The site is currently vacant and you know, available. And I think my client Belnord Retail, who are represented here.
You keep cutting in and out.
Okay.
Can you?
I do hear you clearly.
Yeah, but you're going in and
Okay.
out.
I will turn off my video.
Okay,
Stop video. Okay. Hopefully that helps.
okay.
Okay, so truck delivery operations. So there are various trucks, like the prospective tenant at this location would use various type of vehicles, including vans, single unit trucks, and up to a WB50 tractor trailer. And I've provided samples here with dimensions just to give you an overview of what they look like. Then also the prospective tenant is a member of the New York City DOT of our delivery program. So the existing conditions right now. So the existing curbside, I'm not sure how well you can see this, but if this is the south side of West 87th Street. So mostly it's alternate side parking, except for this area where the the bike dock is located, where there's no standing anytime. And then on the north side also is alternate side parking, except in effect is on Mondays as well as on Thursdays, while the south side is alternate side parking is in effect on Tuesdays and on Fridays. So the city bike station is about 115 feet long, and it has, I think, 43 loading bike docks right now. So on Amsterdam, there is actually on Amsterdam, west of Amsterdam Avenue, there is a commercial loading zone, which is about, I'll show you in the next pictures, but it's about 125 feet away from the entry to the loading dock of the building. So, so some key issues, we want to acknowledge that there is a commercial loading zone, which is around here, but it's about 125 feet away from the door. So this is the access where they they bring in their merchandise and they carry it, into the building. Then we also have a bike lane, which is located at this area, as well as a northbound left turn lane from Amsterdam Avenue to West 87th Street. So the key issue here is just, this commercial loading zone is, is available for everyone. And then secondly, it's about 125, it's far away, it's a couple of feet away from the loading dock. So it becomes challenging to move merchandise. That's if the client is even able to have space there at all. Then again, I talked about the left-hand lane from Amsterdam to West 87th Street. It's really a constraint. Had this not been a dedicated left-hand lane, then it would have been a perfect location for a loading area, but that's another constraint. Then the third thing we want to acknowledge is, we know there's the Smart Curb program in the area where, the city has tried to identify specific areas where trucks can load and unload. But however, that program, at least the northern limit of that program ends on West 86th Street. But this side is on 87th Street. So a couple of constraints and there, which I just wanted to bring to the attention of everyone. So what are we proposing? So we are requesting for a 65 feet loading zone right where the city bike is located. So the city bike currently occupies 115 feet of space around this location. We're proposing to relocate that city bike location so that we could request for a 65-foot loading zone at this location, which can accommodate up to the biggest truck type, which we anticipate coming to this area. Then where would the city bike stations go to? We have reviewed, we've looked into the area. So like, there are a couple of options where it can be relocated. Option one, it could be maintained still on the south side of West 87th Street, but just moved a couple of feet away. That's the first option. The second option is it could be moved to still on West 87th Street on the east side of Amsterdam Avenue, still on the south side. The third option could be it could be moved to the to West 88th Street on the south side, west of Amsterdam, and then the last option could be on the south side on West 88th Street, east of Amsterdam Avenue. So I've identified, or we have identified, these locations as potential locations where the city bikes can go in order to accommodate a loading zone for this land, for this current location, a truck loading zone. At all of these other locations where we're proposing to relocate the city bike stations, the current curbside regulation is alternate side parking, which is in effect at those locations. So
You cut out again.
did you get me clearly on the last slide there?
We didn't get the last sentence.
Okay. Okay, just give me yes. So my last sentence for the previous slide was alternate side parking is the current existing curbside regulations at all locations where we are proposing to relocate the city bike stations.
Okay.
So conclusions and next steps. Again, we will not, I don't want to overemphasize it, but again, creating a the advantage of this proposed plan is it will create a dedicated space for truck loading and unloading.
We lost you again.
And it would maintain the city bike stations within the same area. And those are some of the advantages of the proposed plan. And in terms of next steps, we are requesting for Manhattan Community Board number 7 to pass a resolution to support the proposed plan. And from there, we have already been in coordination with DOT on the site locations for the city bike station relocation, as well as we're hoping that if a resolution is passed, we will be able to go ahead and implement the plan. Thank you. And my apologies if if I was breaking a couple of times, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, thank you. I was gonna first see if anyone from City Bike ended up joining. I know we did some outreach, but I don't think anyone joined, so yeah, okay, unfortunately. Go ahead, yeah, Jay.
Well, in light of that request, what role does City Bike play in this process?
None, they never show up.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether they show up or not, there's a process for installing city bike stations involving city bike, and here's somebody, I assume, not connected with city bike, making an application that will, if legally, they can do it without, city bike. Not that I have sympathy for city bike, just for the record, but seems to me they should be a participant in the proceeding. Plus, I would like to know what the process is for granting, denying, locating city bike stations.
Can you answer it?
Looks like
Hey
Colleen.
Jay, so it's Colleen. If you don't mind, I can answer that. I know Lyft is not there, but we work very closely with Lyft in coordination and with the community, with the siting of the city bike stations. And I just want to let you know that DOT, we place bike share stations in accordance with rigorous technical siting criteria that takes many factors into account, including accessibility and sidewalk width, parking, truck loading, as well as proximity to street furniture and underground utilities. The stations are sited in commercial, recreational, and residential areas to ensure equitable access throughout the service area. New York City DOT, I mean, we work very closely, again, as I mentioned, with Lyft, where we aim to balance the various uses and needs of our streets and the sidewalks. And I understand the request, and the gentleman from TY Lin has been in a communication with my office. And we actually recommended that he come before the community board to present the three options. It's not to say that we would not be willing to work with Lyft to look at those locations to determine whether they're feasible or not. But we wanted something from the community board as well to let the community board know or be aware of this is a request that's been approached to us. So we do carefully consider the concerns, that are outlined. And of course, look at, the location in depth to determine, what the options are and if they are feasible.
Well, I appreciate that, Colleen, but that doesn't answer my question as to what role ultimately Lyft/City Bike plays in the location process. Suppose, for example, they have objections, rational objections.
Again, we work very closely with Lyft. If they have objections, we will share that with the community board. We review the request and, we let them know that this is a proposal that we got, from the community board or, an outside entity that would like us to review relocating this particular station to 3 proposed sites. And we would get back to the community board and let them know as well.
Suppose they say, no, we don't want to do that. Then what
Well,
happens?
again, we don't know that. We have to balance it, We don't know that yet.
Which is really my point. You don't know it and we don't know it.
Well, I mean, I can't tell you, for sure whether this station can be relocated to the, locations that were mentioned. We'd have to survey the site, so I wouldn't be able to tell you off my head. I wouldn't be able to say any, give you a confirmation.
And what about, well, it's basically all the same question. What about the various stakeholders on those other corners, on those other locations? We don't know what they are. We don't know who they are. We don't know what kind of facilities there are. What if there were 3 schools on those corners
I think
or a
that
church?
was my question, if I can just kind of,
I
because
mean,
I was.
my point is there are a lot of unanswered
That's-
questions.
Sophia, I can answer some of those.
Including
Okay,
who the new tenant's gonna be.
Andrew was next, yeah.
Sure, so looking at the 4 possible relocations, number 1 is the one that makes the absolute most sense.
I agree.
That's easier to get to from the existing bike lane. You don't have to cross Amsterdam Avenue. Number 3, there's a massive apartment house going
Debbie,
up
can you
and that
share
street
your
is not
screen
even
again and
all
show us the locations?
accessible right now. And number 4, which is my block, Glen Gardens is doing all kinds of stuff there and they're frequently taking over the sidewalk area. So number 1 is by far the most adequate and sensible place.
Which is number 1.
Right next to.
Right
It's down the street from where it is
He's
now.
gonna pull it up right now
On
for
the
us
same
so we
side?
can see
On the
it.
same side, yes.
There's not-
That's not what they're proposing.
Yes,
Yeah,
it
it
is.
That was number 1.
It is
Can I
number
speak?
1.
Yeah, go ahead.
We could discuss this from now till kingdom come. The point is that we can say in the resolution that we're open to having it moved, assuming the city's fine with it, the MTA is fine with it, the Lyft is fine with it. It's just, are we okay assuming all those other pieces fall into place? we could literally spend from now till the end of time talking theoretically talking about what Lyft might want to see or not want to see. It's a waste of time. We should either say, well, we're open to hearing more about it, or we're not. That's what I think we should be addressing.
But we can also say we recommend number one, because it
Yeah,
makes the most.
yeah, one, frankly, I think one is good, but I don't know.
Can in the rest,
Yeah.
I drafted the resolutions and in it, I said if it's within a block. So would that be appropriate?
Yeah.
Or- Okay.
I don't think so. I mean,
Okay, go ahead.
why I don't think so is because I feel like we should be, our resolution either be, to Howard's point, either we support it, the moving of it.
Mhm.
or we
Subject to.
don't.
Yeah.
But for us tonight to pick which of these 4 sites is best, to me, there's nobody, I don't think, a resident from anywhere in this neighborhood here tonight, other than Andrew who lives here, right? I don't think we have enough information. I wouldn't feel comfortable deciding which of those 4 locations. I looked at it more from a connectivity to another bike lane on Columbus, which to me would suggest number 3 or number 4, because the traffic would be going, the bikes would be picked up and able to go down 88th Street and turn right on Columbus to go on the southbound bike lane, right? But I'm not an expert in this, and I also haven't heard from any of the neighbors that live anywhere near there. So I would be supportive of a resolution supporting the change, the reconfiguration, but I would not be supportive of suggesting or making a recommendation on which site.
Okay.
Just a question for Colleen, and maybe she said this and I didn't hear it. Have these options been vetted by your office?
Yeah.
Are you, is DOT saying that any of these multiple options are okay? Or are we?
So
Can
we,
we hear-
we have not vetted those locations yet. But when we do, and if it's decided that, okay, we would like to relocate the station to, let's say, option 1, of course, we have to notify the property owner, to let them know that this station is being relocated from, another location to your location because of X, Y, and Z reason. But again, it has to be a really good, legitimate reason why we're relocating a station to another location. The only time we do this is when there is construction and it's temporarily relocated. A city bike station is temporarily relocated. Or, if there is, if for some reason, I mentioned construction, if for some reason, other than construction, that is an emergency or something like that.
Thank you.
Carrie?
Just internally for us, the location of this dock is somewhat central. Oftentimes, it's a heavily used dock. It's close to the 86th Street subway station.
It's close to the
it's close-
community board.
It's close to us,
It's the one I
exactly,
use.
right. Although I would not deign to think that that's one of the key reasons it's so often used, but so it is a popular dock, and I would agree that the language that we should be using is subject to its relocation in the neighborhood, so that it's clear that that's one of our priorities. But I was hoping that the presenter could talk us through a little bit more about what the exact situation is, because as I read it on the slide, it seemed to say prospective tenants. So it doesn't seem like there is a tenant in place. Is this a conversation that's happening where a tenant is only going to potentially continue conversations with you subject to getting a truck loading zone? That's the first question. The second is, you said in the presentation that the request was for 65 feet, which was up to the largest size of truck that might be used there. From the prior conversation that we just had, that may not be enough. The loading zone that you've identified backs into a crosswalk and then a bike lane. So if there are trucks that are unloading right there, there is strong potential for that to then obstruct a major intersection over there. And if this is for just a prospective tenant to make the site more appealing without a guarantee, I don't know that this is necessarily right. So if that could be described a little bit more, or if Jacob.
It's not,
We have
it's
members
not a
of the
prospective,
community, so I just
it's
wanted-
not a prospective tenant. The information given was that the tenant is a member of. So he's talking about
Prospective tenant.
a specific,
He's,
What is that?
he's-
No.
If you could clarify.
It's
Yeah.
gonna be a grocery store.
but it's gotta be, it's gotta be it's gotta be a specific tenant if they're a if he's referred to
specific
them as a-
prospective tenant.
Oh, okay. Specific,
So,
is it
He's gonna answer,
conditional?
he's gonna answer.
okay, thank you. Good questions, and thank you for asking. Yes, of course, like they're talking to. I mean, I have my clients here. They would add more to that, but I'll answer the questions first. They're talking to a prospective tenant, most likely a grocery store. There could be other tenants also, but to your question, yes, this is crucial. The loading zone is crucial for a tenant moving into this location right now. To your second question, the largest vehicle by length is 55 feet, which is a WB50. So we took that into account plus a 10-foot clearance. We are happy to request more, but we understand the curbside space is such a high value and high priority in the city. And we do not want to take more than what we need, but we would be happy to extend it to 70 feet if that will, I think beyond 70 feet will not be needed. If that would, if the concern is about the vehicle extending over to the sidewalk.
Thank you.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so sort of tagging on to what Carrie asked you, we understand it's a prospective tenant. You said it's a grocery store. A couple of quick questions. You said that it's a member of the DOT program. Can you specify what program you're referring to?
So the off-hour delivery program. So more or less, that's the program which has been put in place by DOT to encourage deliveries, during off-peak hours.
So there's certain
And-
categories of tenants that qualify for that program, and one of those is a grocery store, right?
Well, you put in an application and DOT reviews it. There's a whole application process.
So
And
you said this prospective tenant is a member of this program, or
Yes.
hypothetically would qualify under that program.
no, they are a member of this program right now.
And so this is this is for the previously occupied PC Richards space, right?
Correct.
Right. And you said earlier that this was for the building, but I don't believe this is a loading dock dedicated to PC Richards, or are you saying that the building itself also uses this loading dock for other purposes?
So
Is it just-
I'll take back, maybe I misspoke, but it will be meant for the commercial space of the building, which is that 35,000 or 30,000 square foot. So that's what it will be meant for, not for
Okay,
the
and-
building. Yeah.
And again, please don't take any inference that your client is Gary Barnett of Extel Development, right? Where that's the client that owns all the retail, is that right?
I'm directly working with Belnard Retail LLC.
Okay,
So-
so let's get real. Nothing wrong, and I said, I'm not inferring any there's nothing critical about this, but this is Extel and it's Gary Barnett. And he's one of the most prolific builders in the city of New York, who has been before us quite a bit. And we recently approved not a loading zone. We approved an extension in the same retail on Broadway to allow for a prospective bank tenant. I voted for that, just full disclosure. But this is one of the problems that we have with the public when we hide behind LLCs. There's nothing wrong with Gary Barnett and Extel wanting to, procure a tenant here, but I want to be very clear about who we're speaking to and for what purpose.
And I have I do not know who your Garrett Barnett is, to be honest. I've not had any
I'm inclined to vote no tonight.
on the call, I think I have my clients here, Ilana Navash and Wendy Alper, who are currently on the call. I think I saw them on the call. I'm not sure if they dropped off, but for the record, the name you mentioned, I do not know them. And for the record, the client I'm working with on my contract is Belnord Retail LLC.
So I don't know if it was our sharing the screen, but when you first started sharing the screen, that came up Xtel. And again, there's nothing, I'm not critical of Xtel. But if you say you don't know who your client is, that really
He
doesn't
knows
sit
who
well
his
with
client
me.
He didn't know that. He didn't say that at all.
He just said he doesn't.
He said he
didn't
knows
know
he
who
knows his
Gary
client. He didn't know who
Barnett
Gary
was.
Barnett was. And I don't think you should be berating him for not knowing someone who lives in this city.
I'm sorry, maybe I heard him differently. I think.
Yeah,
That's
you're
what
just
I said.
berating him for
So-
not knowing someone you know.
So his client is not Xtel?
No,
It's
he was
Belnord
very
It's
clear.
Belnord
He was
LLC.
very, very clear.
Okay, so I was so close to voting yes for this, but I like transparency, and I voted yes for every other application that this developer in this neighborhood has asked for. And I think it's really not sincere to say you don't know who your client is.
He
and you don't
didn't
know.
say that,
He didn't
Doug.
say that, Doug. You're
Okay,
not being
why don't you let him
polite to
answer
him.
for himself?
Yeah, but you mentioned
Doug,
that your client
really
is
not being-
online. Would they like to speak, your client? You said that they might be here.
You know, this is really irrelevant.
I saw them at the start
was
when we had the other presentation. They
If
might
they-
have dropped off.
If they
I-
want to speak, they can just
Oh,
raise.
yeah,
their phone, and then I can
I
promote
see.
them to panelist.
Yeah, okay. So I mean, I see Ilana Navash here and Wendy Alper. Those are the two people I've been dealing with. I'm not sure why they're not coming on, but
I'm on, but I don't have much information to provide. I don't know why. I agree with someone. I don't know what information you want from me, but I'm on if you need anything.
Could you say who you are?
Alana Nivash.
What's your affiliation to this?
I've been working, excuse me, I've been working on the retail space in this project.
With Thailand or with?
With the retail, with the Belnord Retail LLC. I'm not sure what specific, if there's anything specific to the project. I'm available here.
Yeah, my question is why so
Assistant
cagey?
Vice President of
Nobody-
Legal and Finance at
nobody's
Excel,
being-
which is
nobody's
the
being
first thing
cagey.
I-
We
I'm
need
in
to
the
move
industry.
on.
This is
just
not
not
transparent.
nice.
Okay,
I'm
Okay.
sorry, it's not right.
so I have some questions.
We have, okay, we've just been
simple
doing the
question.
committee.
Yeah.
so it's gotta go to the public.
Are there-
So
oh,
when I
really?
put
Well,
that-
I'm gonna make
Yes. No, I know, it's just like, I feel.
How am I
bad.
supposed to know that?
Okay, cool.
Can we do,
So-
members of the public now? I saw there was a raised hand and then in the
But
back,
who
there's
cares
a.
what they're
Okay, you're
saying?
good, okay,
Yeah.
go ahead, yeah.
Just when the city bike stations went in, there was a lot of public input. And it seems, I agree with Howard, like, apart from asking DOT and Lyft to look into it and come back and also make sure there's an opportunity for public input, there are two sides to this. One is moving it from where it is, the other is moving it to somewhere. And I think the public needs to have an opportunity to weigh in on the possible options of where it might move to. And then it would be up to the board to decide, is it better where it currently is, or is it better to move to one of those other options? Otherwise, you're gonna have whack-a-mole of moving it, and the next people are gonna say, no, we don't want it here.
Go ahead.
I think it was very nice of Colleen to ask them to come here, but I think this is a backward process. I think City Bike is part of the public infrastructure, as is commercial space and potential grocery stores and where they park. I think it would probably be a much more efficient and effective process if DOT comes back to us because they think it makes sense to move the City Bike dock, to inform us, to tell us where they think it should be moved. Then people that are affected on that corner or who want to comment can comment, and we can comment on that specific use. But there are so many moving parts. To me, it makes no sense to spend any more time discussing.
Well, that's why I thought we could have a resolution just calling on them
Yeah.
to come back to us. And we want to hear about it.
I
That's
would
what-
be totally
That's
fine.
Well,
that's
that's
how
not
I
what
think
you
we should.
said, Howard.
Okay.
You said we should have a resolution saying, yes, they can move it, but.
Let me
That's
be
what you
clear what I'm saying now. A resolution saying we're open to it. We need the details.
Okay, yeah, I agree.
Thank you. I am not persuaded that it needs to move. I want to hear more justification. This 125-foot loading zone that you mentioned, that you said, or you said it was 125 feet away from the entrance. is that on Amsterdam Avenue? Is that the one that CVS uses?
All right, I've just brought up a screenshot of the presentation. So to show you, just for reference purposes, there's a commercial parking area which is open to every commercial vehicle, and maybe I should bring it up on
Amsterdam, right?
on Amsterdam, and just pardon me if I am. So, but the challenge there is it's open to every commercial vehicle, and it's always occupied most of the times. You know, anyone can park there, any plumber or anything. So the concern is this is the space which is available for the commercial loading zone, and if you bring in a tractor trailer in here, it can't really fit in this area if you know you have commercial vehicles parked there. So the next thing is they'll end up probably parking over here to load their stuff and unload, which is also a safety concern for cyclists and vehicles making left turns. Or maybe worst case scenario, they might double park. Or another worst case scenario, they could end up just double parking here to unload their merchandise and load into this door, into the loading area here. So we are trying to avoid that issue by providing a truck loading zone where the city bike is located, and then relocate the city bike to another station. And the four options which are presented, yes, we have not done a feasibility study to assess which will be the best option. So we are still looking into all of that. But we approached the community board to seek a resolution that at least we can remove that city bike station and relocate it to somewhere else, which will be one of the four locations which are showed earlier.
Okay, I have another concern, which is if you have the loading zone on 87th and you have tractor trailers, that is a narrow street. Don't you see a problem with a truck?
We work for Extel and Gary Barnett. They obviously know it's true. We should be transparent. I wasn't able to unmute my button. My computer froze.
Okay, you're
Thank
Thank you, we agree with you.
Can we ask, can we just ask them to come back?
Can I
and-
chime in? My unmute button wasn't working before, but yes, we do. I'm Wendy Alper and I work with for Extel Development. Tabo really was hired by Bell Nord Retail LLC. So whether he knows or doesn't know, but his client is Bell Nord Retail LLC. Bell Nord Retail obviously is affiliated with Gary Barnett, as you all know.
I take him at his word that he doesn't know who Gary Barnett is.
Yeah, you agree.
I agree. I agree.
Could you answer or address the concern about tractor trailers and large trucks blocking 87th Street and drivers not being able to get around? It's endangering cyclists.
We're getting into the substance of something.
Yeah.
I think Tabo could help with that more.
Can we just table this
No.
and reschedule it and let them come with a specific proposal that all the stakeholders, the city and Bell Nord and Extel and
I wrote the rest,
and City Bike all agree that this is where they want to relocate to, so that we can consider a specific proposal. This is no different than if they came to us and said, we'd like to put a City Bike facility someplace on the west side. Is that okay
Yeah,
with
but
you?
there are two issues. One, do they have to move? And do we give them are okay to move? And then the second question is, where do they move? So I think we could dispense with the first one tonight.
But we can, the
Well,
resolution
but that's
now
part,
is
that's
asking
part of,
DOT to
they're
do more.
making an application, there may be other applications that we don't think are necessary, but that's the process. They decide they want to move, they come to us, and they say, we want to move from here to there, not we want to move from here to there, there, or
Well,
there.
we just need to talk about now whether it's okay to move we know where they're gonna move. and.
No, we
and
don't know
The
where
city,
they're gonna
no,
be.
they're gonna move to this space on
loading zone.
87th Street. And the question is, where's the city bike dock gonna move? That's maybe another question, and maybe they should
Well,
come back to us
they're-
for that.
It's the same transaction.
But, yeah, but I think we could break it up into two parts. Don't you?
I was just gonna say that we should wait to have them come back. Like what's highlighted right now is that we don't have enough information,
Oh,
so
okay.
we can just,
Okay.
have them
Do
come
you,
back.
do you have any time constraints? Kevin?
Yes, no, I know that question is directed. So, I think we were looking to have a tenant into the space within the next 6 months. So, and we understand this is quite a process to go through this, so that's why we wanted to come in earlier and have, at least we'd appreciate if we could, know that the community board is willing to have the stations relocated, and we can go in and do another assessment to see where it will be relocated to.
I mean, Colleen set forth a whole list of criteria that DOT uses to determine whether a particular location is appropriate. So that process has to take place so that they can come in with a specific, for us to say, yeah, you can move, DOT may come back and say, none of these three alternatives are
Then they
appropriate.
won't move, but.
Well, I was simply gonna pick up on the point that it may be best for us to table it at this point, because if we pass a resolution, then this is gonna go to full board, and then we're gonna have to discuss the resolution at full board, and I think.
And there's nothing to discuss.
Okay, yeah.
We're calling on people to come back with more
Yes.
information.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I think
We'll
the
just
record was
table it.
clear,
Okay,
and we just
perfect.
take no
But they
action.
should know we're amenable to hearing about a proposed move. We're interested in
I
hearing
would
about it.
suggest that the co-chairs, if we table it, just communicate with them and tell them
Yeah.
what we need.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
I think we all agree that we need a specific proposal.
Mm-hmm.
And we'd like to hear from all of the parties who agree or disagree. We'd like them to notify, if they agree on location, we'd like them to notify the adjacent building owners and give them an opportunity to be heard, et cetera,
So,
et cetera.
so you want DOT, you want to have it done all at once, like not only do we approve.
I think that makes
Let me just
sense.
finish. Not only do you approve them moving, we approve them moving, but we want to know where they're gonna move. I mean, and where the city bike dock's gonna move.
Makes
To make a
sense to
decision.
me.
yeah,
I don't
Can I-
know.
Doug, yeah.
So, okay, despite my grilling, I am very pro-business and I am supportive of this city bike dock being moved. So and so I actually would be okay with bifurcating this and approving the removal of this city bike location here pending a mandatory, a relocation to be further and for the applicant to come back again for where that will be cited, but I'm okay to help progress with a prospective tenant to say, yes, you can say to a prospective tenant that there will be a zone here. I'm okay with that, so I'd like to bifurcate it.
To
agree with Doug, I mean, to say the obvious, like that location has been vacant for quite a while. It's a big stretch of Broadway that has nothing. I like your idea, Doug, of saying, whereas we have blah, 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 we conditionally approve the removal of this city bike contingent on DOT coming back to us with approved locations, which we vote on. I think that's a happy compromise.
But then we would,
Well,
then we'd end up
What
throwing
if
them in.
DOT says no?
Well, Colleen just told you that she's not gonna say no, that
No,
she's.
she didn't.
that she's- that she's
She
working-
said they're gonna evaluate it.
Yeah, she said contingent upon coming
For the
back with an
relocation.
appropriate location.
Why should we give, they're making business decisions. Why should we give them any indication one way or the other when we have no idea what the facts of the situation are going to be that we're gonna ultimately vote on? It's similarly in a million different ways, saying, I'm thinking about maybe opening a bar on this block in this location. And I'll probably want a 4 AM liquor license, but I may have to, like, we don't, it's come back when you have exactly what it is, we'll look at the specific scenario, and then we'll make an informed decision. But right now, even giving an implication that we're one way or the other, I think is doing a disservice to the applicant.
Do you think we need a resolution for what you proposed?
I don't think so. Let's
I
just
don't know.
get,
I think we should just tell them, come back. we're all ears.
Yeah.
They're
I
not
don't know.
time
So-
constrained.
I will, sorry to interrupt, I will just like to say that the prospective tenant that we're speaking to, this is something that's very important to them, and they may not move forward, depending on this, on what happens with this. So I just want to put that out there for your consideration.
Well, sure.
Nearly every grocery store is double parking, triple parking.
So why don't we
let me
say,
quote
why don't-
Howard.
It's
Howard
important
said
though.
that if the city, if DOT agrees and they agree and
And Lyft.
Lyft agrees, that's gonna happen anyway. So what I would advise this representative is come back with all four of you in agreement, and you don't need us at all.
why don't, I would suggest we give our blessing. If we decide to do that, we give our blessing to this. On the condition that they find an appropriate place to relocate the city bike dock. And if they don't, then we withdraw our permission.
Can I just
or
use it?
whatever. That's conditioned on that.
Do you want that seconded?
Yeah,
Second.
Okay,
Why-
there it is.
but I still want an answer to my question about the trucks blocking West 87th Street.
Well, it may be moved.
Can I say, for show of hands, if they were to come back with a specific presentation, would you be amenable to considering it? Yes?
And voting on it, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So
The
everybody
applicant-
would,
the
so why,
applicant just
without a
said time
vote,
is of the essence.
let's
Yeah.
just do that.
But I think what Ken is saying is if there's a business urgency, we're at
Yeah.
least showing
Yeah.
that we're favorably disposed. I think that's
there are
what
two
Ken's trying to
things.
do.
But is,
There are
I,
two
that's so,
things.
but that's
Andrew,
also.
there are two things. Can they move the loading, put the loading dock on West 87th Street? That's one
Yeah.
thing. And are we okay with that? And we say, yes, we're okay with that, as long as you find an appropriate place nearby for the city bike dock
Yeah.
to go
That's-
to.
No,
And,
that's
and,
not what we're
and that
saying.
question will come back to us, I assume.
Yeah.
About where it's gonna go. But I still want to get an answer to my question
Well,
about
the width
the,
of that loading.
the trucks.
the
Well, I
width of
agree,
that
but that,
loading dock.
I agree with you 100%. What I'm just saying is, I would hope that if they were gonna come back and that was their specific proposal, DOT would have analyzed the space, they would have done an analysis of the
Right.
space, and then these questions would be much more specific. I don't even know that they're capable, or DOT is capable or willing to
Well,
give
it sounds
us
like it's a
any-
two-part
That's in the
thing for DOT.
resolution now.
You know,
That's
for,
a very
We
narrow
approve
street
it
to put a
subject to
major loading
DOT
zone.
providing
Yeah.
input.
so can you answer the question about trucks blocking the street?
Correct, good, thank you, I've been waiting. No, so to your question about West 87th Street, so West 87th Street right now is, I'm trying to look into my dimensions, so it has a 14-feet travel lane, 8 feet in each direction, which is used, on each side, which is used as parking lane, so that combined width of 30 feet from curb to curb. So we can definitely show using an auto turn maneuver analysis and software tools that a tractor trailer will be able to make this turn from here. From that, we have shown it on much more tighter areas, and they do make those turns. If we, as part of the assessment for the second part, or depending on how the resolution goes tonight, we can definitely show that. And if the tractor trailer, if assuming that we are to have a loading zone on 87th Street, then the tractor trailer will not be blocking the way. So it would be pulled on the side and, on the side street. So there'll still be a travel lane as well as a parking lane on the north side. So,
So DOT's, Colleen, you feel that there's enough space there?
So, I like Howard's initial thought on this. Whereas yeah, I'm gonna give Howard a big up here. So I like Howard's initial thought on this, in moving this forward with us evaluating the locations where the board can send us a resolution stating that this came before them because of a prospective tenant who is looking to move in. And the tenant would, like to know if the station can be relocated because they'll be in need of a loading zone. And if DOT can look at, these 4 locations, these 4 options that have been provided by TY Lin, and let the community board know. And of course, I mean, again, if it is decided that the station can be relocated, we would have to do our outreach to let the property owner know that, we're moving a station in front of their establishment, whether, it's a residential building or it's a commercial building.
Colleen, is the, sorry,
yeah.
go ahead.
Seventh Street.
Is the north side of 87th under consideration for relocation?
And again, I can't make that decision. I can't tell you. I mean, if you let us know the locations you want us to look at, we will look at it and we will come back to the board and we will let you know, whether it's feasible or not. And if not, why and what criterias we looked at in making that decision.
But it wasn't on your list of the 4.
So the north side,
So
is
we're
not-
going with the list that TY Lin is providing to the community board.
Is there any particular reason, TY Lin, why it wasn't on the list?
So the north side is not on the list because there's a fire hydrant right there. And we installing moving the city bike station that will block the access to the fire hydrant.
Yeah, but it's the full block. The fire hydrant isn't on the full block. It's just, so it could go down the block on the north side, right?
So, I mean, we could look into, if you can see where my cursor is right now, we can, if the north side is of interest to the community board, we can always look into this area, but we have to keep a 15 feet clearance from the fire hydrant. So, and we have to fit the equivalent of 115 feet. So again, as Colin said, if we're just looking for a resolution that the community board supports this idea, and of course, there's more engineering study that has to be done to identify, as well as public outreach, to identify exactly where this would be located. But on the other side, it's not like we are trying to relocate the city bike station a block or 2 or 3 away. Maybe a block away, but we're not relocating it like, a quarter mile away or quite a significant distance. It's still within the same area. So, yeah.
Great,
There's
thank
a
you.
hotel on the north side of the street. You can't,
Okay.
I don't think you put it up.
There's a motion
So
on the table.
resolution is kind of added in what we just talked about, you and Colleen. It's all baked in there. So I'll call it a question.
Is this what you want us to vote on?
Yeah, it is basically what was just reflected in
Because
that
you want us
Would
conversation.
you
to
mind
vote,
reading it?
you want us
yeah,
to
it's on
vote to
the- okay.
designate this a loading zone. That's what it says.
Yeah,
Under the be it further resolved, that's what it says.
Mhm.
That's what it says, without all of this information. As
Without
to
having
whether it's
DOT
feasible.
look at the streets.
It's actually DOT's written in there in the first one.
I thought it was asking DOT to evaluate.
does DOT need a resolution from us to look at just a I don't know, we've spent so much time. I mean,
I think this reflects what Colleen just said, right, which is
Yeah.
it approves the relocation of the city bike station currently located, blah, 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 to an alternate site subject upon DOT providing further input on potential, you can use a further engineering, on potential alternative locations.
Do we want to ask that they return to us for those alternatives?
sure.
yes.
Okay.
Let's return to city.
And
But,
Okay.
but
this
the
is filling
second,
retail vacancy. That's what we're trying to
the
do here.
second resolve says we're approving the loading zone.
Oh, I don't think I think we should remove the second result.
You want to remove it?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah. I don't think that's what Colleen
Yeah.
said.
okay.
Thank you.
Can we also add to an
Um,
alternative site within 1 or 2 blocks? Alternative site, within immediate proximity to the neighbor, or something. like
Immediate
that.
proximity, I think is
Yeah.
good.
Within the vicinity of the application.
Which, by the way, DOT could do what they want. If they
Yeah.
want to relocate it,
Well, we're saying
they'll
we-
relocate
It's
it.
usually gonna be equidistant, right? They're gonna try to.
And it got put there for a I mean, it got put there after
We,
study for a
we've
reason.
never had a location of a city bike installation come before this
Yes, we have.
board for
We
approval.
put pins
Yes,
in the
we have.
locations when we first
That
were
we
picking
like,
out the location.
but they just pick them anyway.
They.
Okay.
Andrew
wanna-
Rosenthal has been raising his hand. Andrew, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, we haven't really heard from anybody who's an active city bike user like myself. And so I've used this city bike dock many times to shop at the neighboring places like Barney Greengrass or Key Food. We have a shortage of city bike docks in the neighborhood. And so moving this to 88th Street has some advantages, but it creates a bigger gap. The next nearest one to the south is 84th Street. So it's quite a large distance in this neighborhood that doesn't have enough city bikes to begin with. We do have a city bike dock at 90th Street, so it kind of clusters them, which is not ideal. The other thing is, where are people coming to and going from using this city bike dock? And I would think most of the people are going north or south. And this is right now where it's located is ideal to pull the city bike right onto the Amsterdam bike lane if you're going north. Or if you're going south to go up to 88th Street and cut across. I think, other locations can be problematic. I like Ken's idea of actually just moving it across the street. That would accomplish most of, the advantages that we have here without being too nitpicky. I think that should be included in the possibilities. That's all.
Thank you.
The resolution just says that it approves the relocation currently located to an alternative site subject upon Department of Transportation providing further input and analysis, but it's not saying that they have to come back to us.
Okay, write that in.
We can write that
that's what I
in.
was
Okay,
saying.
where should I put it?
At the end.
Okay. And subject to them
Yeah,
returning?
subject to
Okay.
returning.
We can polish it up.
Okay.
By the way, this city bike dock gets 170 uses on average a day, which is.
Well,
which
is that a good,
Yeah,
like,
it's actually in the middle. It's not the most used,
Yeah.
but it's,
How'd you know that?
So.
I looked it up.
Where do you look that up?
City bike gives you the information.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
that's pretty cool.
Okay, we'll call the question.
Call the question.
Second. If I can
Second, yes.
Okay. Okay,
So,
All in favor?
all in favor? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
I think Jamie's online. No, she's
I
not.
sent an email.
Good evening. Yes. May I ask a question of the community board?
I'm sorry, we're
in the
already
middle of a
voting.
vote.
We're voting.
You can
Okay.
ask after the vote.
That passes. Thank
No,
you.
no,
You didn't
gotta
call
do-
for the
you gotta
no.
do that.
Oh.
And abstentions and.
Sorry, Jay.
Forget it,
Okay.
Jay.
Okay, now, thank you, Jay.
And abstaining.
And, okay, thank you. Okay, great. The last major item on.
Well, we had
today's
somebody,
list-
did you want to?
and that was present and subject to our approval.
I think that person thought you were calling on her, maybe the
Yeah.
person's name is Jamie. but it's
Yeah.
not Jamie
Oh.
Floyd.
Yeah,
Jamie Floyd is not on the call and she
Okay.
sent an email. to
Jamie
Okay.
Romano?
Okay. So our final agenda item is another loading zone.
The member of the public wanted.
Did Jamie want to speak?
Did
or-
you have a question?
I do have a question if I'm permitted.
Yes, you are.
Hi, I tried to ask earlier, so thank you for allowing me to speak. I don't have a vote in opposition or in support of this. I would like in full transparency to note that I work for the Bell Nord condominium. I do not work for Bell Nord Retail, which is the reason why I'm on this call, as we had taken notice of the sign and wanted to join the webinar. So thank you for all the information this evening. I know this matter is going to be tabled for further investigation and review by the community board. But my question is, does the condominium need to be included in such? I have not discussed same with the Board of Managers, but I'm sure they would have an opinion in one way or another. Of course, we would like Extel to rent the space as quickly as possible and occupy where the former PC Richard was. But I personally have a concern with the loading dock taking place on 87th Street.
for the reasons that were mentioned before, that that street is very narrow. I'm concerned that if a truck is parked on the corner, it would be very difficult for other vehicles to make that turn into 87th Street. And given the fact that there's already a loading dock on Amsterdam, which is a main street versus the side street, I'm not understanding why the loading dock cannot occur, or the unloading of the vehicles cannot occur there.
Okay, we already
There's a
voted on
confusion
this.
between loading dock and loading zone. The loading dock can't be moved.
Yeah.
It's
You
fixed.
you didn't want to answer?
No,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay, well, those are good questions. And they were mostly addressed by T.Y. Lin. But we've already voted to approve it. It is gonna go to our full board in January.
Okay, understood. Thank you. Apologies I didn't get to you sooner.
Okay.
Have a good evening. Bye-bye.
You too. So our final agenda item is a request from a condominium, 235 West 75th Street, which is right around the corner from Fairway off Broadway, for a loading zone in front of their building,
It's right there.
yeah.
Welcome to the hornet's nest. Just kidding.
Do you want to share your screen?
Sure, that'd be all.
Okay, if you want to just join the Zoom and I'll promote you to a
I
panelist.
just raised my hand.
Okay, perfect. Awesome.
And you're VJ.
Yeah,
Can you say your last name? I'll butcher it.
yeah, Vermadesa,
Vermazabum.
Vermadesa.
Okay.
Cool, well, you can share my screen, good stuff. Cool, so I'm Vijay Vermadesa, I'm a board member on the condo. We're a board of three, so all three of us have agreed on this, since I think I represent the views of the board when I'm here. Well, before we get started, I will give another shout out to Howard. So the way we actually got here was.
That's two tonight.
Yeah, I
That's
know.
really a record.
So the way we actually got here is Howard made a presentation over the summer on one of the Zoom meetings, and that's how we actually learned about this. And we got really excited that we could get one from our building. As was mentioned, we're around the corner from Fairway, so it's kind of like a similar situation where there's 3 lanes. Generally, it's actually 1 lane for most of the day, so a lot of people kind of take the right onto 75th and end up walking the street. So that's kind of like general setup. We have 100 units in the building. We have a single entrance, or we have 2 entrances, but there's only 1 entrance that's primarily used, which is on 75th Street, for all 100 units. So it's a well-trafficked entrance. It's a mix between condos and rent control apartments. It's a conversion. So there's, multiple times through the month or even through a day where there's complete blockage of traffic on the street. This results in traffic spilling over into Broadway. And as you can imagine, on an Upper West Side condo, we're primarily composed of families with kids and older, like grandparents. And so all those people believe that, whether they're elder, that they have a right to block the street, or because they have decided to have kids, that they have a right to block the street. I say this as a parent, and I do sometimes believe this. And
sometimes block the street.
What? And I'm sure I sometimes block the street. Right, and as your kids are getting out, it's just kind of a pain to try to navigate through a lane of traffic. I feel like I'm rehashing a lot of what Howard's summer presentation was. It also makes noise on the street, noise for the tenants who are right above it, right above the entrance. Sidewalk's not that big, the street's not pretty narrow, it's a tall building, so it kind of echoes up through the various tenant units in the building. So the goal here is just to make something a little bit more fluid on the street, right? So it allows traffic to pass. So it generally should be good for drivers, good for noise, and also make it a little bit safer for people to get in and out of the building. Here's what it currently looks like. You can kind of see that on the right-hand side, or on the right-hand side of the lower picture, which is actually on the left-hand side of the street, is actually where you have 2 grocery stores right there, Cinderella and Fairway. So there's always just trucks parked there, and there's always trucks kind of parked on Broadway, right? So we essentially have this one lane to pass. It's very unlikely that you're gonna find a spot on the street. So if you're gonna get dropped off at the building, you have to stop the street. This is the Astor. You can kind of see where we're looking for the spot. There's a hydrant down further down the street, well, more than 15 feet away. And then there's a parking meter that's a little bit east of where we're requesting the spot. This is actually yesterday. So I was at, as I was walking out, there's an ambulance there. This is probably a once, maybe 2 times a month occurrence where they have an ambulance parked. If an ambulance parks, there's no one attending, and there's no one still attending the ambulance. So at this point, like, my daughter's bus was actually trying to come down the street to drop off and had to detour around the street, and then we kind of ran to the other corner and grabbed her. But it's not uncommon to see an ambulance given sort of the makeup of the building. So yeah, we're just looking to make something a little bit more fluid, make the Upper West Side function a little bit better. It's not a perfect solution, but I think it would be a very helpful solution.
You're requesting?
Not for a car. I don't know that I actually thought about we're not requesting 100 feet or anything.
No, but
Yeah,
2 vehicles width of loading zone?
that's typical.
That's typical.
Yeah,
That sounds.
that sounds amazing. Those more
It's
than.
the same size that we've rejected 100 times for residential apartment buildings.
Yeah, Elizabeth,
Yeah, just have a question, if Colleen's still on the line, she on?
are you on, Colleen?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay, I guess with these loading zones, and I want to bring up, thank you for this, and, again, just I think what Howard did earlier this year has been really good for the committee because we've seen this influx of people who are requesting loading zones, which I know is a cause that you've been thinking about for a long time. My question is, Jamie had proposed this a while back. I'm just wondering, Colleen, how often and sort of the standards for a loading zone, the timing, the cadence for approval, installation, all that stuff. It feels like we're doing this on a very case by case basis for each one that comes before us. So I'm looking forward to the discussion on this particular case tonight, but I'm just wondering if, as a committee, we may want to at some point follow the lead of what Jamie had suggested a while back, which was potentially just like we're doing for
Secondary
street fairs and secondary street renamings, have a specific time during the year, 2 or 3 times a year, where this committee considers all of the requests for loading zones at one time, so we can debate these issues all at once rather than at each individual meeting, which I think could help us with timing. So I guess, Colleen, that's my question, is just like the cadence and like how these get approved, and if something like that could work. It doesn't change obviously what we're gonna do tonight, but I'm just thinking bigger picture.
And can I tack on to the question?
What?
Can I tack on to your question?
Of course. Yeah.
The other thing I thought that Howard had in his presentation that was very helpful for me, I found it through Gemini, I don't know how people are, is he had given like criteria that like were likely to work, and I think it said like over 50 units and stuff like that. And I know friends who are on condo boards, like clear criteria is very helpful for us.
Right, so it would help us to
Yeah.
be able to make these decisions rather than making exceptions for some and not for others. I think you're grandfathered in probably
Yeah.
tonight, but like going forward, I think it's something. we
So
maybe we
let's-
should- sorry.
Let's let Colleen answer that.
Yeah.
Okay, so I do recall that conversation that we had. The thing is that, you know, it all depends on what the community board wants to do. I know, like with street co-naming, some community boards have guidelines, strict guidelines that they adhere to when it comes to approving a street co-naming sign. You know, the issue with loading zones, you will have like a particular residential building that'll come to you requesting for loading zones to be installed because of safety concerns. They don't want double parking. They want that curbside to be available so that, you know, it could be, you know, safe for pickup and drop off. The issue here is that when we do review loading zones, it's done on I want to say a case by case basis, because the land use of, you know, the area is different, and we wouldn't want, you know, the community board to like look at this with one approach where they, would look at this, maybe once every 6 months. Because, that particular building may want that loading zone to be installed, as soon as possible. And if we could do it, if we can do that installation, we'd be more than happy to do that as opposed to, delaying it.
Okay, and just a question, you're proposing this be time limited? Like hours of the day?
Honestly, I couldn't find a lot of information about this online, so I will take your guidance on if I need to, but I prefer it be available at all times, right?
Okay, I just
With
thought it was
100
time
units,
limited.
we're just always in and out of the
Right,
building.
okay,
And being on the board and having talked to tenants, like, people I think greatly appreciate this.
okay, Andrew?
Yeah, I don't know with Colleen, if there is a technical standard that DOT uses to analyze each one of these areas to determine whether or not it's appropriate to have. It just goes back to, I think, the conversation we had some time ago where, most residential buildings have very similar issues. Elderly, children, people, go on and on. There's other commercial uses. I just don't know as a committee how, in any sense, we do this in a fair manner, because in theory, it's like everyone kind of has a legitimate reason why they'd want one. So anyways, is there a technical analysis that is applied, Colleen?
No, there's no technical analysis that's applied to this. It's not like it's a request for a hotel loading zone, which will look at, how many rooms that hotel have. If that hotel has over 100 rooms, yes, they would automatically qualify for a hotel loading zone. Now, depending on the number of rooms that they have, that would be dependent on the number of spaces they get. Now, that's with the hotel loading zone. With a residential building, there is no technical criteria involved in assessing this. We view this as a quality of life issue. So that's why we always ask that the applicant come before the community board for the community board to review the request. And if the community board deem that it is something that they want to support, by all means, we're more than happy to review that request.
So if two buildings right next to each other had almost identical conditions, the first building that came and applied, you would consider, but then the next one with the near identical conditions, you may say, oh, no, we're not gonna approve them because we just approved the next door building.
Well, it's possible that might be the case because they can both utilize that space.
Yeah.
Howard?
I don't know what technical analysis can be done. It's a quality of life issue, as Colleen said. It's a value judgment. Do you want 2 spaces for car storage or 2 spaces for people who are disabled or elderly or somehow physically impaired to access the curb? It's a safety issue versus a car storage issue. There's no technical
So then you
analysis.
should have no cars
Exactly.
anywhere.
That's not
applying
true.
that standard.
No,
I
if
mean,
there's-
well, you would move 80% of.
Not 80%. I did a calculation. I actually did a calculation. And I think there were 200 buildings on the Upper West Side that met the automatic criteria for a loading zone. And that would be 200 buildings at roughly 2 spots, which is 400 spots, which is about 4%. So yes, there is, I would argue that giving up 4% of car storage to enable almost everyone in a large building to safely and easily access the curb, I'd make that judgment. It's a value judgment. Either you feel that safety and access for elderly people and disabled people is important or you don't.
Well,
Yes, and
It's
that's
not, that's such
Okay,
an unfair.
we're not gonna.
I know, but that's such an
We're
unfair
just
thing.
gonna go
I
around
think
the
it's
room.
safe. Not, I'm just saying.
You don't think
could-
access to the curb improves safety?
That's not what I said. What I'm just saying is that so many of those cases, you have children, you have elderly,
Yeah.
you have disabled
Children
people.
too.
So I'm saying is you could apply it to every
And
single building.
Andrew, as a board, we've
Yeah.
decided we want to do this on a case-by-case basis.
Mhm.
So that's what
Yeah.
we're doing. We have had proposals
Yeah.
to not do that. And also, I just want to remind people, as a board, we voted overwhelmingly, almost unanimously, that our highest priority at the curb was safety.
Mhm.
So,
Well, getting back to this applicant, yes, and we did vote down a kind of a wholesale resolution to approve any building that I believe had 50 more units. We, as a board, decided that we did not want to do that, and we did want to do it on a case-by-case basis. So getting back to this particular applicant, I'm pulling it up on Street View, and I see that directly to the east of the entrance of the building is metered parking. And I believe from that westerly line this is alternate side that you're talking about. That's right in front of your building is alternate side of street parking.
Yeah.
Okay, and so I think, well, you sort of said you weren't sure if you want a spot or two spots, you're
Yeah.
calling it a zone. I think it's important that you
Yeah.
define, we figure out.
Yeah.
You essentially want a car to be able to pull in and pull out,
Exactly.
or an accessoride.
Exactly.
I don't know if there's a standard size, if that's equivalent to two car
When
lanes,
we
or
did the Park Royal on 73rd Street, we gave them 2 spots.
that's a hotel.
No, it's actually, it used to be a hotel,
Yeah.
now it's an apartment building, it's a condo.
Okay.
Approximately 2 car lengths
So-
was spent.
Yeah,
so this-
it was a
so
while
this
ago,
is
I
gonna
think
be-
you were, yeah.
This would be west of in other words, at least we're not gonna be removing metered parking to the west. It's probably everything. I'm sorry, metered parking to the east.
To the east, it's alternate side there.
Elizabeth?
These are two questions, not standing your situation for Colleen. Are there limits on the number of loading zones in a particular neighborhood that can be granted? ID?
No, there are no limits. No, I don't think so. There aren't.
Okay, and are there limits? I know we've probably talked about this, but just refresh my memory on the size of so for instance, if it's a 10-person brownstone and they come and they want a loading zone, it has to be a certain number of residents, right? It's, how many people are in your building? You said 100?
There's 100 units, so. it's
100
probably-
units? So it's not based on the per capita or per parking space or whatever.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay. Those are my questions, because I think that's the type of stuff that I feel like we should be thinking about when we look at these on a case by case basis.
We have a question here. Or-
I live in that neighborhood, 76th Street, and shop it. So what, Fairway's actually half a block away. It's really Cinderella that's at that corner. And on the big holidays, they sometimes end up parking their trucks right across the street from where you're asking for that. It's, you know, the Thanksgiving turkeys and the Christmas
Thanks,
turkeys,
Cinderella.
roast beef. And I'm just wondering to what extent that begins to be a problem for, you know, people getting by. There's a loading zone.
Didn't you mention that, VJ?
Yeah, so I think it's more often that they actually park it than just the holidays, like these pictures were
Yeah,
taken.
I mean, I don't feel very strongly either way.
Yeah, and so I think the problem becomes once they park their trucks, which is pretty regularly, and I do think Fairway even has like this, the other part of this is Fairways, like Instacarts of the world. Like those drivers are parking there all the time to like go grab groceries, and there's also double parking on Broadway. And so all of that just creates a lot of congestion right there of taking up any spot that's available. And so it all essentially just becomes a one-lane road for most of the day. And I think that getting the loading zone, I think would help that, because that way, at least when you're getting dropped off by whatever, like a taxi or whatever, you can get pulled in and then drop off, or if somebody's driving up with their kids in the car seats, they can pull in and drop off. I think I wholeheartedly agree with Howard's point. I think the part that other people, like, we talk about this as like safety, convenience, it's all about like at the expense of a parking spot, but it really is to the benefit of drivers too, right? Because this means this creates better flow down the street. As that car gets out of the street, if you're a driver, you at least flow down the street at the expense is 2 people parking, right? So while you lose 2 parking spots and 2 people are affected, all the drivers who drive down that street are actually benefiting from this, right? So I think it's unfair to say that it's at the cost of driving in the city. I think this is to the benefit of driving. I think it's to the benefit of the residents. So I think there's actually just benefits all around. And like, I understand if we had 4 units that asked for this, that's really kind of unfair. But at 100 units, it does feel like we have a lot of people throughout the day coming in and out. It's not, this building's not typically a pied a terre, so it's like actually occupied and people living there. And so I think it helps the street a lot.
So one last comment, then I'm done is, I actually have no objection in most cases to take away parking spots. I'm just talking about a more effective application of this. And I think to
A
Ken's point.
uniform rule, like somebody.
So what my question, I guess what Ken was saying, and I agree, is that it was very difficult, that last discussion a while back, where we're trying to say this many units and this, that criteria. Perhaps this is something we discussed about having specific application of questions for applicants, like
Yeah.
how many buildings, like, so we have an idea of like what is on the street, like, and to help you to know, like, okay, well, you know,
This is what
the
we're looking
standard,
for.
you know, how many spots? What are the other types of commercial uses, residential uses? Just so we have some sort of like information, because I mean, I think all the reasons are good, and I have no reason to object necessarily to anyone asking for a loading zone. I think it's a good, or a drop off, or whatever you want to call it, zone. But like, there's so many specific questions in my mind, to determine whether or not I support this specific case versus that specific case. So maybe in the future, just like,
It's on us to come up with the question.
yeah, so people come prepared and like they know what we expect, and then we can have like a thoughtful discussion, like, this is the format of this block.
Mm.
And we can at least, you know, make a somewhat more educated.
But we did have a proposal for any building over 50 units, and I just point out that this is double that, so. So it's 847, 850.
And there's some new business.
I just wanna say something. I alluded to, again, going back to what Howard said, it's a quality of life. And we do get a lot of these requests that come to us, and we direct them to the community board because, we want something on record stating that the community board supports this based on X, Y, and Z reasons. And the regulation that we would be looking at is a no parking anytime regulation, which would, which would allow for loading and unloading, and of course, curbside pickup and drop off of passengers, just so you know.
Okay, Jay.
So I live in a building that has 30 units on West End Avenue.
Projected.
That's fine.
He is a comedian, you know.
Timing.
Several years ago, the DOT in its wisdom eliminated a driving lane on West End Avenue. So if you have to unload something on West End Avenue, which I had to do today, there's a parking lane, there's a driving lane where you have to double park. And then there's a lane, I don't know what you call it, it's got yellow stripes and nobody's allowed to do anything in it. Except the taxi cabs and the trucks and the speeding cars, if they see you in time. Since I was driving, I have to open my door into that lane, okay? And my building doesn't have a loading zone, we have some elderly people. So I'm gonna vote no on the resolution unless and until we have a resolution that says every single residential building in our community district should have a loading zone. Why not have everybody?
I would love to do that, but that's not what's before us tonight.
And
Well,
my standard line,
I'm just explaining my rationale.
the perfect should not be the enemy of the good.
I know
This
you
is
said
good.
that.
I've said it 1,000 times because I'm always right with that line.
Okay, call the
Call the
question.
Okay,
question,
let's-
second.
All
All in favor?
What are we voting?
It's on the
Right there.
screen.
Should we put 2 spots into that?
Yeah, 2 spots.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Are you voting yes?
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6, okay. Voting no. 1. Abstaining. 1, 2.
Non-committee, yes.
Non-committee, yes.
Okay, so it goes to the board.
Did you vote on any of the other ones?
No, I wasn't interested.
Okay.
MTA updates.
Could you
Wait,
ask
can I
Colleen,
ask
because
Oh,
I have
yeah.
some new business that requires Colleen, so I
Okay.
just
And I
want to
need
make sure.
for Colleen.
All
Okay,
right,
great.
Colleen, can you stay on for
Yeah.
a second?
Yeah, I
We-
can stay on, do the MTA update.
Okay. We all want to
Okay,
hear the
all right,
update.
we'll go to MTA update.
Just our district?
Just on this.
There are a lot of Omni issues that are affecting folks. Cubic is working feverishly on them to get it ready for January first, when everything changes. But one of the things that they're really working on is getting you how many trips you've taken, what your balance is, and if your transfer was accepted. Things that MetroCard screens always gave you, but Omni screens have not yet given you. That stuff is coming, so be aware of that.
What was the glitch that they had?
They had to shut down the entire system for 2 different weekends so they could update the system. You could still use your cards, but you
No,
could.
you couldn't.
Yes, I know people that use their cards.
I know people who couldn't.
This is gonna
All
be
those in
resolved.
favor of.
You couldn't load it, but you could use it. But anyway, there are over 745 R211s in service. That's the brand new subway cars we have on the A, B, C, and G at present. The D is likely to get them and the Q is likely to get them as well. Also, 115 new buses in service, and additional service has been provided on the A and the L lines, mostly in off-peak, which is great news. There's been record paratransit ridership, and 94% of paratransit trips are arriving within 20 minutes of the promised time, which is great, which is why they're getting a really high rating all of a sudden. MTA has cut its operating budget deficit by $675 million over the next 4 years, which leaves a $160 million deficit for 2027, which is much lower than the projected deficit had been, and which is likely to be manageable. You may have heard about it, but 2 days ago, the F and the M did a swap between Queens and Manhattan. This should cure a lot of the delays that took place east of Queens Plaza, so improved service should be now felt on the E, the F, the M, and the R. But keep in mind, it's only Mondays to Fridays, 6 a.m. to 9:30 p.m. Nights and weekends, the M is back in the 63rd Street. The F is back in the 63rd Street tunnel, and the M doesn't even serve that part of Manhattan. It only goes from Metropolitan Avenue down to Delancey, Essex, so it's not affected. So that's only weekdays. Crime continues to drop, 14% down from last October to this, and even higher this November to last November. So something good is happening. The B68, the M57, and the B60 buses are going to get ACE cameras, which means they will have a much clearer route and should have a much better on-time performance.
That 57 always already had it. The M57.
No, it's about to get it.
Sorry, okay.
Yep. There's amazing new capital dashboard. If you've heard about this, you can look at an MTA map, you can touch a station, see what's going to be done there, who the contractor is going to be, how much it's going to cost, and where the funding is coming from. It's amazing. Capitaldashboard.mta.info, and you can see it right for yourself. Really amazing. Fare increase happens January 4th from $2.90 to $3. City ticket is up a quarter. That's for the commuter rail and the boroughs, and commuter rail is up 4.5%. Round trip tickets are done away with on commuter rail, but a one-day pass is now going to be in effect, which allows unlimited riding until 4 a.m. the next day. So that's a great deal if you're using commuter rail. And more than 4.6 million riders rode the subways December 3 and 4, which beats a pre-pandemic record, actually. So people are absolutely returning, and that's great news. That's all I have.
Is that like an all-time record? Isn't like?
It's not an all-time
in the
record, but it's
1940s?
getting up there.
Getting up there.
It's getting up there.
Thank you. That was really helpful. Appreciate it.
Sure.
So, the two of you had questions. for
Go first if
Colin.
you want, Howard.
Oh, I have I guess it's new business. There is a major problem with City Bike in that they removed stations. The station near my apartment was removed over a month ago, and there's no information, there's no notice that it was being removed, and there's literally no information about when it's coming back.
What's the location? I can find out why it was removed and when it's coming back.
68th and Central Park West, but there is no city bike dock between Columbus Circle and 94th Street on Central Park West. And usually they're like 6 or 7. So because of the parade, they're all removed. And the parade was like 2 weeks ago. And they were removed like 3 weeks before the parade.
More than 3 weeks.
More than
It was exactly 3
Oh.
weeks.
And there was, just to put a pin in this, we passed a resolution 6 years ago, meeting with the DOT and Motivate, which was the previous lift, to inform us when you were removing a station and tell us why, and just so we could post it on our website, so we give the community a heads up. Nobody knows. So anyway.
Yeah, I've called City Bike many times. No one there knows.
Okay, I'll find out.
Pauline, did you have, you had an update, right, on a couple of things?
Actually, I have an update. I have an update on one thing, which is the bike corral on 71st and Amsterdam Avenue. I'm happy to share with you and let you know that the markings and vertical elements have been installed and the bike sleds are remaining. The bike corral will be fully installed once we have the granite blocks hardening the corral space. We currently don't have the blocks in the inventory, but we're working on procuring some. Once hardened, we'll prioritize this location and try to get it installed ASAP. So that's good news.
Yeah, Colleen, it's Doug. Just a question. I had asked you, on the southeast corner of 91st and Amsterdam, that sort of wraps around to 91st and on Amsterdam, there is this new zone, and recently a few boulders were put there. And I have a photograph, but I saw a UPS truck parking outside of that zone and using it as a staging area, which I think is not what we wanted. So do we know what that is for? Is it going to be a bike corral? Is it going, what is it?
Actually, Doug, that location is daylighted and the Amazon truck shouldn't be there. I can let NYPD.
No, it's not inside. You can't the boulders are there now. So now what was happening is the truck was parking in the travel lane on Amsterdam and using the daylit area as a staging. So now it was blocking a lane of traffic, so it's daylit, but it's not daylit on the north side of 91st and Amsterdam.
No, I think it's on the south side.
It's on the south.
Yeah, no, it is. What I'm saying is I thought daylight lighting was on both.
No, it's actually on one side. We daylit that intersection. Yeah.
Okay, got it.
Because
Yeah.
The new site, I love the Upper West Side, was under the impression that it would be a bike corral.
Yeah, that's what I read that.
Is that, do you know anything about that?
No, it's daylighted.
Okay, so they won't
Yeah.
put a bike, okay,
That's correct.
okay.
Thank
Karen.
you, Colin.
Hi, Colleen. I wanted to ask a follow-up question. I had raised this during, I think, our last meeting in November. The full board passed a resolution regarding dynamic pricing for the smart curbs pilot. Last time we had asked, there wasn't an update. Is there an update this one?
So, I mean, the whole thing with dynamic pricing, it was not part of, the Smart Curbs program. I know you had asked me information about that, and I did share that with my colleague, and we will provide a response to the community board. We did have a meeting with, I think Danielle and myself had a meeting with Ken and Sarah, and this was something that came up. And, we explained that, this was not, an initial part of the smart curb, just to let you know, it was not.
I must have misread the multiple publications and presentations that were made then, because we have a disagreement about the facts. In our multi-page resolution, there are 50 some odd footnotes citing sources for that basis. So regardless of whether or not it was, the community board has called upon DOT to implement that, re-implement part of what it had said it was going to do. But do you have a sense of when you're going to be able to make a presentation about what the proposal is going forward?
You know what, I'll take it back to my colleagues. I don't know if we'll be coming to the board to give a presentation anytime soon, but this is something that we can have a conversation about.
And I'm happy to jump in. This
Yeah.
is Danielle. I think we got some mixed messages from the board about support for curb pricing generally. I think everyone knows there was a proposal to install meters. I think we understood that there was some concern about the outreach level, and I think we're happy to revisit the conversation about metering on some of the spurs where we initially installed meters. I think we just want to know that there's support and understand if there are additional outreach strategies or anything we can do before we embark on a reinstallation of that?
Yeah, I'm all for more transparency. So to watch transparency, we had this meeting with the DOT, which was great. And we talked about some of these dynamics, and they talked about how like, we didn't do it. Our response from the community board at the time seemed like, oh, we don't want, the letter that Beverly had sent seemed like we were saying, we don't want this curb pricing, or it wasn't rolled out well. As well as Gail Brewer, our council member, did not do a great job clearly defining what it is we wanted. So I think that is good information for all of us. And we reiterated, like, Carrie, we have this resolution, which we passed the full board, we want to see it. And we are now trying, and in full transparency, to talk to Gail Brewer again and be like, what was the issue? We also felt that the rollout could have been a little better. We would love to host a big event to talk more about the rollout and get better feedback from her. So we have that scheduled. But yeah, we're hammering on this too, because I think the DOT was actually lovely and very supportive and gave good examples about like, we weren't clear enough ourselves. So that's a good.
But the thing is, they put up signs, they spent a lot of money, they
Yeah.
put a meter, and then they had to take it all down.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And I think
because
that's
of
partially on
political
us.
considerations,
Yeah,
so they don't want to get burned again. That's
Yeah.
the good.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's all
Totally
good to
fair.
know, and if there's anything else that we can do, happy to
Yes.
be a part of that. And while we have you guys on the line, if I could just flag a local issue also, there was an intersection that was recently daylit on Manhattan Avenue between 102nd and 103rd. There are a few teething issues with that particular intersection. If there's a spare boulder lying around somewhere that could be added to it, there are a lot of cars that don't seem to recognize that it is now standing anytime. So just flag that for your consideration.
We can take a look at that. You said it's 102nd and 103rd. Is that Amsterdam or?
Manhattan Avenue between.
Oh, Manhattan
102nd.
Avenue.
So
Okay,
the
thank you.
first Manhattan Avenue at 103rd.
Okay, we just have two more things, I think. One is public member. Did you?
Well,
you wanna go?
let's keep, yeah.
All right, this is Karen Aronson.
Mhm.
We passed a resolution about 6 years ago. People probably remember it. We, calling for, approving electric vehicle charging on like 3 intersections or 3 streets. And, there's been an unintended consequence for her building. So you wanna, and she's just Karen's gonna explain what the issue is. We're not gonna vote on anything. It's just in case somebody here has some ideas. Already Linda Rosenthal's working on it, and also Gail's gonna start working on it.
Although Linda's worked on it with us for 2 years and nothing's happened and Con Ed. So Karen Aronson, I live on 76th Street. It's a rather interesting street. We have a funeral home, a school, a religious institution, city bikes, and 2 charging stations. People seem to think we need more things to put on our block. And in fact, when they added city bikes and the charging stations, we were given no notice. We woke up and there they were, which seems rather odd, especially listening to this meeting. Seems like maybe there should be some kind of.
We did, I know we did notice, but the block, but maybe.
Well,
maybe-
Citibank didn't, City Bikes didn't. Anyway, you put it very well. In 2021, December, the full board voted after after your committee discussed it, to allow the Department of Transportation and the Con Ed to put electric vehicle charging stations on 76th Street. We don't mind them, but they're in front of a schoolyard and the school faces 77th Street. So they looked for an address. We're the building that's closest to it. They put them on our address. They have nothing to do with us. But if you look for a charging station, they're at 125 West 76th Street. That's our building. The first we learned about it was in October 2023. I got a bill from Con Ed, from these guys, for these charging stations.
How much was your?
Um,
I'm sorry. No, I'm just.
And how much? It's
We have not had to,
$1,700.
we have not had to pay anything. It took a while to reach the company, which is based in Canada. And we've been talking to Con Ed for 2 or 3 years to try to get our address removed. Because even though we're not paying, you know about local law 97 and local law 84. Well, somehow all of the electricity that's being used is being added to our account. And so this week, last week, we got our new score. We're down to a 25 on our emissions use.
Wow.
We started at 55 before these vehicle chargers came in, and we thought we were gonna move up. We've been doing things, but here's where we were at this thing, and then the vehicle things came in.
Yeah.
These are kilowatt hours per day. And you can see
Yeah.
there are more and more cars, but there are a couple of odd things. Con Ed will not tell us the account number, even though it has our address. They can't share any information with us, so we don't even really know. This is the first this week that I was able to learn anything about. So how much are they using? It's been really hard to get numbers. We've sort of had this mystery. And the question really is how to get them off our address. Why, instead of being 125, couldn't they just be 127? The city bikes don't have an address. Why not just say 76 between Amsterdam and Columbus, or just west of Columbus or something? There has to be a solution. But Con Ed said, we are unable to disassociate this account meter on our side as we provide aggregated consumption based on the property's BBL. That's the block, yes,
Yeah.
I had to look it up. And the service addresses that align. So they have our address and our BBL. And Con Ed sort of says, too bad, guys. For 2 or 3 years, they've been saying, too bad.
Insane. Absolutely insane.
And Linda Rosenthal has been working with us. She started with me 2 or 3 years ago. She's a wonderful person. We thought we had maybe solved it until we started getting our scores. And, you know, they've been 55,
It needs like a
45.
separate meter, right?
It has a
It
separate.
is,
meter.
but I don't
like,
know where the meter is. And
But all
Con Ed
the
will
meters
not
at that
remove
address
the-
are aggregated, like every apartment has a separate meter.
Was there a third party company besides Con Ed that was administering these charging? I
Yeah, there's the-
remember when they
It's the
came,
Canadian company, Plug-in.
right? So,
yes, they are called
and Con Ed is regulated, it's obviously
Flow Services is the name of the company.
the
But
Public
they,
Service
there's
Commission,
nothing they
right?
can do. This is Con Ed and DOT
Right.
and our address.
Right.
They have to remove our address. That's,
If I'm not
I
mistaken,
talked to One Work Tale. I called the Public Service Commission on Friday. And their first response was, we can't help you. We don't have a code for your type of problem. Oh, I said, can I talk to your supervisor? A few minutes later, they came back and they gave me a case number. 20 minutes later, Con Ed called because they have a department that handles cases. Good. Well, the person who called never heard of local law 97 or local law 84. She had no idea that carbon emissions were a problem or that Con Ed was. She said, well, but we're not charging you, so we're not the problem. Go talk to whoever's going to fine you. Anyway, I am looking for advice and help.
Okay,
And given that the community board helped get us into this, and so one last thing, given that it was supposedly a pilot program for 4 years, I'm wondering if you guys can vote and say, before you get to renew this pilot, you've got to take their address off of it.
That's a good
Anyway.
Yeah, okay, Rich.
Yeah, I, a few months ago, met the Director of Manhattan Regional and Community Affairs for Con Ed.
Can you come closer? My hearing is
Rich,
dreadful.
come over here.
A few months ago, I met the Director of Manhattan Regional and Community Affairs for Con Ed. I'm sure Linda's office is reaching out to folks, but if
We've
the
talked to
board and
everyone
you
at
reach
Con
out to
Ed.
this woman, I have her contact info.
Okay, we'll share the
Um,
contact
yeah.
info.
Yeah.
I mean,
Go.
well, no, I mean, look, you're speaking to obviously a state legislator. This is a state regulated industry. I think, great advice. And I know this is the first time I'm ever going to say this, I've ever said this, but even though we are in the job to help municipalities, and local law 97 is a New York City law, it's not a state law, so it doesn't surprise me that they don't know about it. But have you tried contacting the, 7 on Your Side or some of our local publications? I actually think this is a sort of a newsworthy story.
Yes.
Don't you think it would be an interesting?
I think
I can say something, it's Colleen,
Working for Business Week and 30 years working for the New York Times.
yes.
I'm retired now. This might be our next step, but I think it's going to be a hard sell. It's so quirky. And most
No,
people.
they would
I
love
would
it.
love that
They
story.
would love
That
it.
story was
I know an
amazing.
editor, I'm gonna talk
But
to him.
before
It is our
Colleen-
next step,
before-
but I'd like to solve it more easily.
Sure.
Before Colleen goes, I think also my solution to aim over there is like, let's make the address the school address. Like, let's just throw it back on DOE, right? Like,
Hey,
maybe
I
we remove the
actually.
address is a problem, right? So let's just say like it's the school
Colleen.
address.
Let Colleen
Yeah.
do it.
I actually do recall this issue, and I was working with Assemblymember Lyndon Rosenthal's office to address this and to help the individual who's speaking regarding the matter. We did reach out to Con Ed and asked them to make the change to remove your address from the EV charging, from the EV charging application or the billing information. And they assured us that they were going to do that. And it's really Con Ed that has to remove your address from the application, from the billing. I'm more than happy to put you in touch with someone at Con Ed who can probably help you get that done. And if you can just give the board your contact info, and I'll get that in the morning, the board can send that to me, and I'll put you in touch with the right person at Con Ed.
Well, Linda Rosenthal's office, and I thought we had resolved this 2 or 3
Yeah.
years. And then, as I say, our score went down and
Yeah.
said, oh, it's not resolved. So we've been trying ever since, and Con Ed keeps saying, we can't remove the address.
Colleen
We
will
have no
help.
place.
Colleen will help.
It was about 3 years ago, I remember. And I'll put you in touch with the right person at Con Ed so they can remove your address from the billing. Because I know there was there were issues with the billing. I think they were charging you as well for usage, which they were not supposed to.
They've never charged us.
Oh, okay.
It's never been the issue.
Okay,
It's just the emissions.
I think we've gotten some good
Okay.
ideas.
We
Thank
have
you.
someone on Zoom, Daniel Arnold.
Okay.
Hi, guys. I'm so sorry to be joining after all the votes were taken, but there were several folks on West 75th Street, I think, who had joined the meeting and kind of unaware how to get in. I did want to make some comments on the West 75th application for that loading zone, because I think some of the context of this particular block may have been either unintentionally not revealed or potentially papered over to kind of get this specific thing approved by you guys. I think it's great that loading zones are being considered, especially for large buildings like the Astor. But unfortunately, the entrance that they're suggesting you guys could cite this loading zone at is not the loading area for the building. This is a building that has a through street. So they have entrances on 76th and 75th Street. The handicap accessible entrance and designated loading entrance for the building is actually clearly labeled on 76th Street. And I would just make a bit of a plea for West 75th between Broadway and West End Avenue, because it is at this point a little bit overstressed with the amount of Door Dashers and delivery vehicles that are parking almost all the time in every available spot on this street. I think adding a loading zone, especially on 75th Street, will simply invite more Door Dashers to park and sit in their car waiting to get an order from Fairway. So it's probably going to add more stress to a streetscape and potentially make it less accessible and less safe, just because it's a missed site for this particular building. Again, the entrance.
Just to clarify, it's not a loading zone, it's a no parking.
Yeah, no
space.
Yeah, well, I can assure you, having looked at the Door Dashers parking in front of the fire hydrant in the middle of the block nearly 24 hours a day, that they will be using this no parking zone and sitting in the car for the entirety of the time. And again, you know, the Astor is a lovely building, but is not a good neighbor in this area. They have literally taken about 10 years and kind of left up their scaffolding and had a lot of streetscape taken up by their loading zone, which is, as far as we can tell, being used to park contractor cars in, as opposed to used for the kind of things you'd want it used for. I just think it's a missed site, and they haven't actually told you the truth about where their entrance is for disabled people.
We're gonna let VJ respond.
Yeah, so I think there's people, one, on the contractor cars, so this building went through a bankruptcy with a developer and got out of a bankruptcy, and through that whole process, it had taken 10 years for the developers to reconstruct this building. We, as the condo board, do not represent the developers. We're nice people in the process of doing it, nor do we condone what, like, all the stuff they did, like the hassle they created, nor the bankruptcy. HFC was the original developer on this building, right? So, and they've created problems across. The contractors that HFC and then later CIM who took over used 76th Street. And that's generally just been like a place for, like, that door is locked. You have to have a key fob to come in. It's not the main entrance to the building. It's not the way that most residents access the building. Our doorman is located on 75th Street. There is a ramp on 75th Street on that entrance. And that's how most people actually get into the building, right? It's like, if you, I'm happy to take pictures and send it to you guys, but like the doorman is literally, as you walk in on 75th Street, is located there. There's no doorman on 76th Street. There's a camera, and if you're a resident, you can keep fob in that way, but most people don't actually enter it that way.
It's literally labeled on the outside of the building as the entrance for disabled and loading. So I don't know why that would not be used for that purpose if you've labeled it that way. And if the contractor is done, I don't know why you haven't given back those contractor spaces. Literally being used for parking, I think, for your doormen. The other thing is, I think the maintenance of the sidewalk there by the building is atrocious. They're like, if you were actually disabled using a chair or a stroller, you couldn't get past the tree stuff.
We're not here to talk about what a bad or good building the Astor is. We're just talking about the loading zone. This is going to be coming to the full board in January. You're welcome to come speak then. But we already voted on it here, unfortunately.
Great. So just for clarity, because there were about, I think, 5 other people who were coming in to comment before the vote was taken. In January, there will be time for public comment before the whole public community board votes on this specific resolution.
Yes, yes.
Do you have to be in person to make comment before this is passed by the community board?
No.
Okay.
No.
Thank you. We appreciate the notices going up. I wish we had been able to comment before you'd taken your vote.
I'm sorry we didn't.
It's okay.
Did you raise
I'm
your
the
hand?
worst at Zoom.
Okay. The last thing is, we want to talk about.
Oh yeah, public member, we'll be sending in the next newsletter next week, and we're opening public member. And I think that you didn't do it last time, but I suggest that transportation would be a good venue. We have a lot of applications who wanted to do public member in transportation. I think it'd be good. So look for it next week.
Good.
Great, thank
All
you.
right.
Okay, motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oh.
I messaged Colleen with, oh, let me get that so I can get, can I have this
Okay.
too? Yes, and I'll
Thank
message her
you.
right now with.
Colleen and Danielle.
Thank you.
So you have my
Thank you very
contact
much.
here, do you want?
I'll take it.
I can.
And let me give you,
Thanks.
this is
Good night.
the